Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Kicking Back podcast, and may I say it is our season finale today. Ooh, how exciting. Today we have joining us Bay Bryan. Hello, Bay.
Hello, darlings. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous.
It's great to have you here. I've
Thank
been
you.
looking forward to this one for a while.
Me too.
The season finale.
Finale. You saved the best for last.
Of course.
No,
How are you, Matt? You okay?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to ask you the same question I ask you every week. What have you been doing today, man?
Went for a climb. Had a little flat white was there. Wrote some folk with my friend Barney.
Nice.
Went over some Ben Howard songs. And cooked some pasta. That's it. So,
Nice. What kind of pasta?
This is like pesto and just like mushrooms and tomatoes and the works, olives, loads of good stuff. Great cheese. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Wholemeal pasta, white pasta.
This was
fusilli.
a wholemeal spaghetti.
Ooh,
So
nice.
Ooh.
Aldi's finest, actually.
Ooh, yes.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty good Wednesday. Basically every Wednesday I don't work. So it for anyone who listens to this and is like, what's this guy doing with his life? Like
He's a dosser.
Yeah.
I love
But I do work. Just
Just not on a Wednesday.
not on a Wednesday, man. What about you?
What have I've literally just been sat in this room all day. All
Lovely.
day. I went out to the shop for like 20 minutes before in the sun. Glorious weather that we've had.
Amazing.
So nice.
Yeah, it's been
It's needed.
It is, man.
So
It's
needed.
I feel like I've not really caught the sun
man.
a little
Looking
bit.
pretty tan.
I've definitely got the t-shirt tongue thing going
Yeah.
on there. That's not
Shame.
good. It's not
Yeah.
good. What about you,
Nice.
Bo? What have you been doing?
I have been just doing admin stuff all day with Wi-Fi that wasn't working well, which makes it all the more fun.
Fun.
I've got a very lovely new setup that I've been waiting to get for ages, and now the Wi-Fi in that room isn't great, but I'm moving with it because first world problems, let's be honest.
yeah. Could be worse.
Oh my god, so much worse. Yeah, no, but just admin stuff, and then I went and had a beer with a friend in Charlton,
Nice.
pre-gamed
Nice.
this
Nice.
situation.
Yeah.
Just one
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Just
I
one.
was- yeah, it didn't go crazy
You're still fresh. You're still
Yeah.
good.
for now.
We start fresh and then we see what happens.
Then we
Yeah.
descend.
Yeah, that's fine. So, for the people at home, Bay, they don't know who you are. Do you want to just give us a little explanation about who you are and what you do and all that sort of stuff?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to try and keep this as succinct as
Hey,
possible.
we're on a long podcast. You
That's
can be
true.
as long as you want, man.
Okay, but
Within
don't.
reason.
You should, I should make that clarification because I could.
3 hours later.
My husband would definitely say that I could take this in too long of a form of explanation.
We'll let you know.
So I'll try and be better. So my name is Bay Bryan. I'm from Colorado originally. And I moved over here to Manchester October 13th, 2017.
Nice.
I'm getting really specific now.
Yeah.
No, but I came here and I had been here a couple times before visiting, and kind of got involved with the singer-songwriter community kind of right away as I was visiting Manchester, and was really taken by it. I mean, I didn't move here because I was like, I'm going to be a part of the singer-songwriter community because visas, you can't just do that.
Yeah, of course. Man.
But I was really taken by this city in particular, and I'm glad that I'm here.
Yeah.
Around a lot of amazing people. So that being said, I am a singer-songwriter, have been ever since I was really, really young. Actually, I just remember sitting at a piano at home writing, and I mostly write by ear. I always have, but I did study classical piano and classical guitar when I was younger. But then this is where I'll start veering off into other spaces. I ended up going into musical theater, and I studied musical theater in Scotland, which is a long story in itself, which is where I met my now husband, which is also a long story in itself, and ended up moving back to the States because of visa stuff, and then came here through a marriage visa, so we got married, and I was able to come here.
Right.
And so now I do do a combination of quite a lot of things. So it's only this project in particular is kind of a culmination of, I think, a long time coming of sort of being like, oh, I think I'd like to try and like take the music industry seriously, or at least enter into it in a serious way, or not serious, but like in a committed way, if you know what I mean. I have released things in the past, but I think it was that proper, like, put the song through your distributor, like DistroKid or something like that, and then like literally tell people it's there, and that's like your plan, and then be like, why didn't something happen, and also it like, so I think I'm in this position now where I'm like really trying to share my music to the best ability that I possibly can, doing the best quality that I possibly can with the resources that I have at this moment, and just do the best that I can. And then also I have an agent who gets me acting auditions, and then I also have done a bit of composition work this last couple of years, and then I also have a drag queen alter ego named Queen Bayard, who I'm also releasing music. So I just do all the things. I'm just running around the place. Oh, and I also teach yoga. So I just
on the side.
I just patchwork quilt a life together.
That's cool though.
I'm a freestyle human. That's freelance.
I'm a
freestyle. Yeah. I also do some rap. No, I'm just kidding. Some freestyle rap.
Why not?
Yeah.
Wow. Busy.
Yes.
Very busy.
Very busy.
That's cool though. I mean, I think the good thing of the freelance lifestyle is that every day is different. You know, that's what I enjoy about it. You know, you don't want to be sat in an office doing the same shit every day.
Yeah.
Do you?
Some people do.
No.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
exactly.
good,
Not me. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about was it Queen Bayard?
Yes.
Is that right? So how long have you been doing that stuff for?
So Queen Bayard, I have been sort of playing around with makeup and playing around with getting into drag for the last 2 years, I would say, maybe 3 years.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like the lockdown happened and like someone asked me how old I am, and I literally told them I was 30, and then I was like, I think I just lied to them because like that 1 year just like didn't count.
Yeah,
and
of course.
I kind of refused to also accept that I'm 1 year older. So
it didn't happen.
It wasn't a year.
but
It didn't happen.
yeah. So I started playing with makeup. Actually, I probably started playing with makeup ages ago, and I even thought about this sort of character that wasn't this singer, like, you know, that kind of more. It was just something a lot more out there than what I tend to write when I sit on an acoustic guitar or a piano. Probably like diving into the more musical theater side of things which is much more dramatic and that side of things. So I started playing with drag a few years ago. We'll say 2 years just for fun, and started. I gave Queen Bayard a song called I Want to Know You, and I was like, I think this is a Queen Bayard song, and I worked with a producer in Chorlton actually, named Matthew Garcia, who worked with quite a few people, but Elise Mason, she's someone based in the scene, he produced one of her tracks, and I was like, I really like this track, and I ended up kind of seeking him out, and we got together. I showed him a demo of that and said, like, you know, this is what I'm going for. And then we ended up working together and making a really fun, like, synth heavy 80s vibe kind of track that, like, it's just really fun. We've actually made another one. So that's released. I released that at the end of January. That was like Queen Bayard's first song.
Okay.
And then I've got another one that we produced together that we've got a master for, and it's ready to go. It's just getting the other things together and deciding on the time. But yeah.
Can we, Adam? Can we pull up some of the Queen? Because
oh my god, yes.
When you first got sent to me, I got sent your.
It's Bayard. It's really a comment. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens on the Google. Let's go.
I know this is the test. Oh god, what's gonna happen? Oh no, the TikToks. That was the thing as well.
There you go. You're on there. Go on images.
I went on TikTok. Yeah, you can go to the images. Actually, yeah, those look pretty good.
I was like, you look great in it, man. It's really.
So that's the album art, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, that is one of the first gigs that I did. Well, probably not even one of the first that I did as Queen Bayard in my hometown in Golden, Colorado.
Okay.
In front of my mother and my family and just friends from high school.
Right.
Oh my God, it was. I think like my process of going back home personally, like I think maybe like. If we tie it to maybe like sexuality or like queer identity, like has been quite like, I think the reason why I ended up so far afield in Scotland was partly because that I just needed to go somewhere completely new.
Right. Okay.
And so to come back, and it's been a process, you know, coming back feeling like, oh, I can actually be myself in this space and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine and people accept me. And I think just to be performing as Queen Bayard in front of like my parents in like this like speakeasy bar like in Golden, Colorado, which is like that's not really a mountain town. It's not like South Park or anything like that. It's a bit bougie now, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I was performing in front of people that I'd known since I was like 5 or 6, you know, or 7 that I'd gone to school with, and it was quite liberating actually to be I can for people to really enjoy it, and also to see my mom's like shining, smiling face, like it's amazing. Yeah.
And do you feel like different when you put on all the makeup? Does it sort of take you into a different? Do you feel like a different person, or is that what's the sort of thing of it? Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what it is? It's I actually did a clowning course this last year.
Oh right, okay.
And it has a lot of similarities to that. Like, and I think because I did this clown course with like in terms of putting on a mask, essentially, you're putting on this face and you're putting on something, and at the end of the day, it's like you could maybe look in the mirror before you go and perform in someone and you'd be like, oh my God, I look fabulous, amazing. But the second you're performing in front of someone, you are yourself. You know, you can't really like tap into what you look like. Like you can't look at unless you like pick up a mirror and you're like, okay, I'm fabulous. Like I think like what happens in drag, especially, or like if you've got a mask or if you've got something, people are interacting with the mask. They're also interacting with you, with your energy. So I think what happens the more that you get into drag is that people interact with the mask, and it gives you confidence, because all of a sudden, like, you know, you'll just be like walking, forget that you have your makeup on, and people will just be coming up to you and they'll be like, yeah, and you'll be like, what? And you're like, oh right, I've got this thing on, and it immediately makes you feel a bit more fabulous. And I think it does, just like, I think, to be honest, like taking off the drag, it does that as well, because it's like the effect has happened, and all of a sudden, like, there's just this freedom of expression and kind of like, but it does take on a life of its own, because there's always going to be that mask that people are interacting with, and I think that's why it's different. That's why it's something else. But I think for me personally, just putting on drag and going out, it doesn't make you immediately feel like super confident. In fact, sometimes it can make you feel like quite like you might have personal fears, or you might be like, what are people going to think, or whatever. But it is the process of maybe like pushing through those fears or whatever, or and then the way that people kind of validate your existence and are kind of like, oh my God, yes. And then you just kind of find that character, like it sort of finds itself. It becomes something in its own right that's a combination of you and the mask, if that makes sense.
And I was going to ask you about, in terms of like making the character, is there like a very conscious thing that you're trying to build, or is it more like you put it on and, like you're saying, it over time you sort of form this identity that's a part of you? Then is it, or are you making conscious decisions to sort of be a certain way, or like talk in a certain way, or do you know what I mean?
That has same thing. Like, I did try and kind of sit down and think about like, where's Queen Bayard from, and like there's things that I've written down that I'm like, yeah, actually that's really fun. Like she's from like another planet, and like there's certain elements to that, because like even as a kid I did have things like that where I told other kids that I was from like another planet. Like I was just weird. I was a weird kid. So I was like, that resonates with me. But to be honest, yeah, I think it's more so the building like over time. And it's still like, I feel like Queen Bayard's still like becoming who Queen Bayard is, like with, and I say to people quite often, like Queen Bayard is kind of definitely me, a part of me, but it's also that interaction with the people. So it kind of, that character really exists and can only become more that character or like find that character self with an audience. Similar to clowning, like you can't really clown without anyone that you're playing with. Like you have to have someone to play for and play with. So it's kind of, and I think the clown is found there, or the drag is found there, or the character or whatever.
Cool.
It's a combination, maybe.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I was gonna. How much time do you split between the two? Like, would you still see Queen Bayard as like a side project kind of thing for you, or like an extra part, or is like 50-50?
I'm trying to figure out a balance.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It must be like pretty blurred line as well at times where you don't know which way.
Well, I made, so there was a lot of struggle. There was a lot of, conversations that I had with friends and family members about like these two separate things that are actually me, but are separate. And I did have a moment where I was like, I'm just going to keep one, like, it's so stupid to say like Instagram or like one social media account, but I was like, I'm just going to keep this one and I'm going to try and do both. But actually, I think because of the way that people consume things, it just made more sense to split them up. So I had to really consciously be like, okay, this is Queen Bayard, this is Bay Bryan, and like I'm going to just commit to those. And I'm really glad I have, actually, because I think even though they are both still me, like playing around with the differentiation and also like, for instance, like as Bay Bryan, I don't think like TikTok is my life. Like I don't think I can go on to, like I don't want to, like it doesn't really gel with me. But for Queen Bayard, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like I'll play, I'll hang out with the kids. Like and it really does feel like that. And like I went on to TikTok as Queen Bayard and I just like started posting some videos and like just people were like really into it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, but I think it's interesting, like, yeah, like splitting. But in terms of time, I have tried to make a schedule, but I'm not very good at sticking to schedules. But I do have things that I'm supposed to do. Like I've got one of my best friend growing up is my manager at this moment. And she helps me to kind of like structure my life because I'm not very good at creating structure for myself. Yeah. So I mean, technically yesterday I was supposed to get into drag and like make a TikTok video and like do that, but I didn't, sorry. So like I have like a schedule and things that I'm supposed to do, but I think as well because I'm really focusing a lot of energy on this like Bay Bryan project, like it's okay that like certain elements of that Queen Bayard stuff can kind of like be maybe a little bit less intense, and I'm not pushing any single or anything for Queen Bayard at this moment, so I can kind of I'm just making it up as I go, to be honest.
That's fine, man.
Yeah, that's really what's happening between
that's what
those
we're all
two.
doing, man.
Yeah, it's true.
Everyone pretends to be like this professional person, and like I'm a videographer, and like the amount of shoots that I've been on recently, where like I've been like in charge and people have been asking me what to do. I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue what to do. Like, I'm not trained in this stuff. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's hilarious that you can put on this kind of people can think that you're something. Do you know what I mean? But I think, to be honest, I think 95% of the freelancers out there, they're just making it up as they go along, and then you just put on this front of like, but
that's fine.
I own this shit.
There's not anything else to do,
and people believe it. Man.
Exactly.
You just tell them the story, and then it's it's true. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Confidence in it. Like I could come down as a professional guitar, like trained guitarist, and like I've made it my living and everything like that. But even today in today's rehearsal, I'm just like trying to smile and like I'm like, no, it sounds right.
Love that.
When you take away the labels from it, it's like professional videographer Brad Ingham. When you take away all these like labels and all these like like the portfolio and all that sort of stuff. There's a guy who's just trying stuff and seeing what sticks, you know. And the same with
That's
songwriting
true,
as well. Songwriting is a massive one for that, isn't it? Literally just being like, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
I think the music industry in general, doesn't help with that because, and maybe it's a lot of other industries as well, but it's that thing where the narrative that we're fed quite often is like, oh, this person was just doing nothing. They were like working in a bar and then like literally they just became famous like that. And it's like, if you really dive into like their actual narrative and their actual story, they've been like hitting the pavement hard for like 10 years in the music industry. And they've been like sending demos and they've been like producing shit.
Getting turned down all the time, but
constantly.
Still,
and then all of a sudden they were like, the angle was right, like their music was right, and someone was like, cool, let's do this. And it worked. And it worked.
Totally.
Yeah, but no one wants to hear that.
No one wants to hear that. No one's like, got enough attention span to hear that, and it's not magical enough.
No, exactly. You want the just sprung out of nowhere. Like,
do want that? Yeah, want that.
Definitely. So let's go back to the Bay Bryan stuff then. So how long have you been writing under that guise for?
I guess that would have been that's the original kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I suppose I've been, so I studied musical theater, 2009, 2012. And I'd been writing before that since I was about 12 years old or whatever, just on the piano, just writing stuff. I think when I left Scotland and I ended up moving to New York. I didn't know if I wanted to do musical theater. I was just kind of straddling theater and acting, and I was going down to the East Village and just going to loads of open mics and sharing my songs, singing my songs and performing. And I also started to do cabaret stuff. That's where kind of Queen Bayard and those type of things started to build and grow. But I did start to kind of perform my songs as a singer-songwriter, I suppose. So yeah, it's been a while, but I think that I didn't, like I kind of said earlier on, I didn't commit to the music industry at all. I just kind of kept the veil of naivete over my eyes for no apparent reason. Now that I'm really delving into the nuts and bolts of what you need to do to actually the things that you can actually do to find more success. I'm why didn't I do any of that, or why? And I think that stemmed from a lot of insecurities and also just I think my journey especially with the Bay Bryan music, maybe because it's so personal. And I don't know if you guys for writing or for sharing any of your certain things because it was so personal. When I started writing when I was a lot younger, it was very much my own space. And it was on the piano, and I had this banker's lamp that was a spotlight, and I was it's drama, and it's brooding, and it's just my own moment. And I think the process of going from that to actually sharing it with people was it'd be one person at a time. It'd be my best friend. It'd be I have this song, and I would share that. And so to go especially with that music and this music, it's been a long process to actually be I'm excited to share or to even engage with people who like that music rather than just be and run away kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And now I'm actually when people say oh, I really like your songs, I'm great, join my mailing list. You're my people. I'm excited to have this kind of experience with you, because I think the more that the less kind of insecure I become around that, the more I realize how special those people are as well to me. You know what I mean? Not everyone likes your music. Not everyone likes what you do. So when you find those people, you realize you're not only creating for yourself, but you are kind of creating for that pool.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what you're doing. So it's been a long process.
Yeah, of course. I was going to sort of ask you a bit about your writing process. Do you have a particular way of doing things, or is it different for each one?
It is different for each one, but I do think that I tend to have chord progressions that and maybe like a lyric,
right?
And it's always like a mood, like a lyric that is a part of the chord progression. And sometimes the chord progression is like I will never find out what that song is supposed to become, or like it will be with me for like 2 years. I'll have that chord progression that I'll just keep coming back to, and I'm like kind of jamming for a moment. I'll sing that one lyric, and then like 2 years later, I'll be like, okay, I know this song now. Like, and I'll end up I'm not like, I know this song now, and I'll like write it in 2 seconds. But like, I think there will come a moment where I'm like it just happens.
Yeah.
Like Sticky Shadows, for instance, the first single that I'm releasing, mid-July, like that was like that. I had that chord progression for quite a while,
right.
and this lyric, everything I say will be meaningful or meaningless depending on the day, depending on whether I can let go of my sticky shadows. Like that lyric was with me for a long time, and it was just like that's definitely the mood of the song. Like I get that, like, and it feels right, but then it was like, where do I go? Like what happens then? And then it's just, like singing those sort of filler lyrics that you have for everything. Like you're just kind of like when you're playing a chord progression, you just end up saying them.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you kind of you're waiting for it to, because when we ask people this question all the time, and a lot of people say like, oh yeah, I craft the lyrics and then put the chords to it and stuff. And then obviously everyone always says there's the songs where they just come out of nowhere. But there's other people that like they grind on they'll have that thing and they'll grind on it until it's something. So I think that's interesting that you're waiting for that moment for the lightning to strike. Do you know what I mean? I think that's quite, because sometimes I think it's so easy to try and force something onto something. Do you know what I mean? And it never really becomes what you envisaged it to be. That's interesting.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, there's I think when the occasion calls for it, and I'm like, right, I need to sit down and write this song.
Yeah.
Like I need to get to the bottom of this. I think you tapped into something in terms of like waiting for inspiration to strike. Yeah, like there'll be moments where I'll pick up the guitar because I want to play the guitar for a moment, and then I'll be over it in like 20 minutes, and so like I won't write anything. But like if there's a time where I'm like, right, I have this song, I really need to figure out what this is. Like I've got my lyrics like crossed out, writing new ones, cross out, writing new ones, like the same lyric over and over again in different ways. Like, and it I can get into that place as well where I'm actually getting really, really particular and then walking away, coming back, walking. But I think that tends to happen when I feel like for some reason, whatever reason, I have a goal. And I'm like, and I maybe I've figured out what the actual journey of the song
the purpose
is.
Of it.
And I'm like, got it. Like I can do this. It's just about like getting all the pieces together, figuring it out.
So do you end up becoming quite like autobiographical, if that's the word, almost, with that kind of thing? So it's like more like documenting life or just sort of like day to day, it's like things will happen to you and you're like, okay, that needs to become a song. Just like, like good situations or bad situations, but like kind of going through life, like wanting to document it and kind of wanting to express your experiences. Would you say that's like you're out with a friend and a situation happens, you're like, okay, this needs to come out, people need to hear about this in a song?
Do you know what's funny? I don't think my songs come from like experiences, like as in like, oh, I went to like Scotland and I've got to describe that journey. I think they all probably come from an emotional place, and then and a sort of fantastical, like like it has to do with me, but doesn't have to do with like any. Hello?
Someone beeping the horn outside.
Yeah. It's definitely like I think it's an internal thing that drives a song for me. It's like, and I think this has always been maybe why I sit at the piano or why I like sit at a guitar usually comes from a place of like inner turmoil maybe. And like the song itself is like usually usually takes me from one place to another, and it's usually that like cathartic thing that I need to like get me from one headspace to another. Okay. And then like the songs that I've written that are quite journey led or story based are like nothing to do with me, but probably to do with me like emotionally or like on an emotional level, but they have like a fantastical kind of like, it's like a ballad, like a story about something else. And it's usually like drama, like love and like high stakes or something. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How people, why people write and what people write about. Like I think I love songwriters that write like very topical political songs. Like I think that's amazing. Like you can take those, like what is happening today, put it in a song. Like I think that's amazing. I don't think I write like that at all.
Yeah. And I can imagine a lot of artists probably end up doing that once they have a bit more of a platform as well. I feel like it's quite hard, like in terms of writing really topically, writing about like current issues in the world and stuff. If you try and do that really early on in your career, and not to say that you necessarily are, but for a lot of people, if they're kind of at the starting point, it seems a bit strange. I think it's more like something that people, once they have like a really big audience, they're like, right, I can turn to topical stuff now because I have that kind of scope. Whereas I imagine most people probably start off writing a little bit more personal, and like you said, it's more like just a kind of cathartic thing of whatever's going on. Yeah, what do you guys think of that? Do you think you need a bit more of a market already there before you can start getting into political things?
I think the good thing is like if you are like early in your career is like people want to know who you are as a person. I guess. So it comes from that. I guess from that point of view, people want to see that sort of that side of you. But then again, you know, you can still write in that way and it not be about you. So I think it's just down to like who you are as a person and what you're interested in and what emotionally drives you. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not emotionally driven by politics and stuff like that, but other people are. Do you know what I mean? And I guess it's more personal. I don't know, man. Not sure.
Like, it's funny because I think what you're talking about, I feel like for the Bay Bryan stuff, it's still very much in that like, oh, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm thinking about. This is sort of my inner world. And it's kind of like that niche thing where I'm like, if you're interested, like you're welcome in. Like I'm ready to invite you in, basically. I'm not going to push you away. Whereas Queen Bayard, even in the performance side of things, is about the audience a bit more. And about getting the audience involved. So in terms of the writing, I feel a lot less particular about like, you know, like thinking about like, oh, is this the right thing to say? Like, it's a lot more like, is this fun? Like, and if it kind of meets that criteria, like, is this fun? And also like, could the audience get involved in some way? So like, there's like a chorus that people can sing along to. There's a rap that's quite fun that like people like can like really get into kind of and enjoy. There's a section that I can like get down, like, you know what I mean? Like I think that's like when I'm like, oh right, and also for whatever reason the songs for Queen Bayard all end up being a bit more political and a bit like saying something a bit more like hey, like this is what I think, maybe philosophically, but like also maybe politically speaking. So yeah, I said before I don't write politically, but maybe I do, but it's more so through that kind of lens and not so much kind of. But actually, that could be bullshit as well. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. I'll leave it open.
So, a good example is Justin Vernon, who I always bang on about. But like, I was just trying to think of examples. Like, why did I say that? Like, who do I actually know who's? But Justin Vernon, like, if you listen to like Forever, that's really, really personal for the most part. It's basically just like talking about what place he's at in his life and just documenting that. You know, like Flume, like the first like Juno album. It's just like. It's quite obscure, but it's clearly just talking about his mental state. Like, and then Lump Sum is just basically like him saying that he sold his car and just left everyone behind for a while because he didn't know what else to do. Yeah. You know? And then if you listen to his latest album, that's like these like huge overarching themes about religion and politics, and you know, just saying stuff like You Man Like, he talks about the lovers sleeping on the streets, which is such a beautiful line, isn't it, when you think about that? And so they like these huge hard hidden messages about politics. But would he have done that on the first album? Like, would he have even been capable of thinking that way at that point? And do you think it's kind of like he realized like he has a scope now? He has like millions of people who listen to him all the time. He's like, oh, I can really, really like reach a lot of people in a different way now.
Yeah, I wonder.
It's an interesting thing though, isn't it? Like people like it's almost like he's risen to his level and he's been like, okay, like I've got responsibility now to like document what's actually going on. In a political sense and a social sense, rather than just being like, this is me and this is how I feel. Yeah. So,
I mean, it's a big thing, I think, to take a political stance in writing, and I think as an artist and as someone who might have just been like only delving into like this is me and like I'm sharing myself, because like people can't really argue with that much. No, you can't really be like, you're not you. So but like I feel like there probably is that thing when you get to a certain level of kind of fame or platform that maybe you think about those things, but you definitely, I mean, I feel like you can see it in someone's eyes if they don't have that like confidence, or they don't exactly believe what they are saying they believe in. It's pretty fucking obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So I think like maybe he just found that like it sort of coincided where it's like he had that platform, but also he'd gotten to a point where he was like, this is actually what I believe, like, and this is like, so it's kind of, maybe it like melded in with his songwriting in terms of being like, right, this is what I'm thinking about right now. This is, and he had that kind of fire, but also like, just like, this is what I believe kind of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting, man, though.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. I was going to ask you a little bit about sort of the influences of your sound with the Bay Bryan stuff. Are there particular artists that you kind of look at and sort of want to pull things from into your music?
Definitely. I don't really know where the older influences are. Like when I was younger, like I want to say they were probably more in the musical theater category,
right? In
some way, even though I didn't like obsessively listen to musical theater growing up. Maybe I did. I mean, I remember I've been like in denial. I don't know. But like, especially now, more than ever, I love artists like Laura Marling, Anais Mitchell. I recently, like in the last 6 years, was introduced to Nick Drake, Pink Moon album.
Yeah, Matt's all about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like, but funnily enough, like I couldn't tell you what lyric Nick Drake ever says. Like, it's kind of not important to me. Like, like I probably wouldn't even like pull up the lyrics, and they're probably very meaningful.
Oh, they're beautiful.
But like to me, it's the vibe and it's the feeling. And I think actually like with a lot of music, funny enough, like I spend a lot of time on lyrics because they are meaningful to me, but like very often I don't really delve into people's lyrics very much. Like I just like, it's the whole kind of package,
the whole thing
of sound. And like, and I think for me, vocal is very like informative in terms of maybe the vibe and the feeling. Like also recently was introduced to Jeff Buckley like in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And so like
That's a genius.
You know, like and then the song The Other Woman that Jeff Buckley did a cover of, but then I found Nina Simone's cover of it, and then I found out it was written by this woman named Jessie Mae Robinson, and that is a song that I know all the lyrics to, because that is like a songwriting wise is just like an amazing song, and like, but also it's like in a way like maybe it taps into that thing for me with songs where I do know the lyrics. They're usually story songs. They're usually songs that go on a journey.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that song in itself, it's like, it's tapping into a, like what the character like is going through in terms of feeling like they are the other person who's never going to find like that consistent like relationship or love. Like, oh wait, no. They are the person in a relationship that like knows that this other woman is is providing something they can't, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it goes on a journey around that. And like, I think that's what maybe I am attracted to. And I think like Laura Marling, for instance, sometimes her lyrics go past me. Like I could absolutely understand them if I thought about them, or like read them, but I kind of like not doing that.
Yeah.
No, I
kind of like just sitting in the feeling and the vibe of a sound and a full thing. And then Anais Mitchell, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Anais Mitchell, but you should definitely check out an album called Young Man in America. And like the instrumentation in that album and the mixing, like it's just so cool. And there's so much going on, and her voice is so unique, and her lyrics are very like just like upfront, forward, really clear, and she's a great storyteller and songwriter. She actually ended up, I think it was her first album called Hades Town. It was a concept album based on the story of Persephone, like, you know, a Greek tale. I think it's Greek. God, yeah, look that up.
Fuck it.
Adam, look it up. Okay.
Persephone.
Yeah, see if that's Queen Bayard coming in. It's like, look it up. Do it. But like, yeah, like that transferred to like have a workshop in New York as a new musical, and is now on Broadway, and I think maybe has transferred to the West End. So I think maybe something about that as well. I resonate with things that are quite theatrical, and like for her writing is quite theatrical, and it's obviously transformed or like made its way into theater.
Okay.
And then recently as well, I love so many different artists, but I love artists like Tank and the Bangas. If you've heard of them. Yeah. Like that, I think that's kind of a little bit more Queen Bayard, maybe, because my influences, like, in a lot of ways are actually like quite soul and R&B, and like a ton of my influences growing up, like that I would obsessively listen to and like just digest, and like is Lauryn Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And like her voice, and just like the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I listen to a lot of like Tupac. I listen to a lot of, and that probably for the lyrics. I listen to a lot of Michael Jackson, a lot of Usher, 8701.
Yeah, man.
like you got it, babe. I have a ton of different influences, but I think in the more Bay Bryan sphere, it's probably the more theatrical, like, and also the singer-songwriters that maybe just have that kind of more folky kind of vibe. Something about the vibe. It just attracts me, and it's very truthful to me as well.
I think a lot of the artists that you kind of pulled out there, they've got this kind of like raw element to them, where it's like it's not the cleanest recordings ever. Do you know what I mean? There's like this sort of ness about it. I don't know what the word.
It's the best thing ever. Ness.
Yeah,
it's like you just can use it.
Whatever it is.
It's just like the cry of the soul, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it's pure.
So yeah, I know what you mean. It's something about like recordings that are just really dusty and I don't know. It's like more real. That's a terrible way of putting it, but like you get a more real connection from it. It's like that. It's like no one's trying to hide anything from you in terms of like how the record actually sounds.
Well, that Nick Drake album, like that Pink Moon album, is very like that. Like you could go in any direction with the mixing on that. You could be so much cleaner with like that. You could probably have the guitars be a bit more in tune, but it doesn't matter. Like that's the vibe of it. Like 100%, and it feels so right for what it is, like everything about it.
Yeah, totally. Have you heard 5 Leaves Left by Nick Drake as well? That's
I haven't.
An early album. It's the one with Riverman on it, which most people know Riverman, but it's just unbelievable, man. It's a similar thing, but like you can just hear like every like kind of weird word he sings, you know, just like his pronunciation like breathiness and like whether things are in tune or not, and like weird little piano fills and stuff. Like, there's that everywhere, like dotted across the whole thing. But when you listen to the album, you just get like you kind of memorize it all, you know. When you know it, like an album, like a really rough and ready kind of album, but you know it really, really well.
Are you someone who, like, when you like something, you will listen to it over and over?
To the point of driving everyone else mad.
I'm like that as well, to the point where like I will sometimes not listen to anything else by them. Which is why I probably haven't heard that Nick Drake thing, because I'm still like 7 years on committed to only listening to that album.
I get so.
And I will move on at some point. But
it's almost like muscle memory. Like I get to the point where I can pretty much hear everything that is about to happen for the whole album.
Oh my god, absolutely.
You just like, and then that, and it's literally like muscle memory, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But with pitch instead.
There is that thing as well, because I do it as well. But like, there is that thing where like you love this album, and then, well, for me anyways, like you don't want to move on to the next one in case it's not as good. And it ruins the image of that, that artist.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? I definitely get a bit of that sort of fear.
Definitely. I get that with new albums, like new releases as well by artists you love. You know, there's like a Jeff Buckley like unheard tracks thing that came out tomorrow. I'd be like, oh, should I? I probably would, but then it's a risky game, isn't it?
Like you guys are familiar with Alanis Morissette's like Jagged Little Pill album. You should absolutely listen to that album.
What tracks are on? Can we pull that up?
I mean, but it's so old. I mean, it's like 1990s maybe, but like you should listen to that just for, you know, that same kind of vibe check, kind of listening through to something. Like, it is one of the best albums out there. Like, it's up there with all that. And
there's your track list. Do I know are any of these like the clear, like I'd know the singles?
I don't even know. Maybe
you've got
like
to know you ought to know, surely.
What did you say, Adam?
You've got to know you ought to know.
You ought to know.
Yeah, no, you will know one of these songs, but like it is one of those ones you should absolutely listen to from start to finish.
Right.
Like I think, and if you look into, you know, just like the story for, I think, a lot of amazing albums that you end up liking, like they usually have really interesting stories. Like, I don't think it's not particularly like, oh, like she fell off a mountain and then wrote the thing. I think it's just like the way like she ended up kind of meeting this producer and they ended up working like, and that collaboration. I think that's another thing that I find really fascinating, especially the more that I go into like the producing side of things, and like from start to finish being like, oh, well, I made that decision ages ago. Like now I can't really, unless I want to rewrite that clarinet line, like there's nothing like, like that was the arrangement that I settled with. So it's like listening to certain things, I'm like, that choice is so cool. And like that was made early on, or that was made with the mindset that was going to be the end product. Like, and I think like that shows a lot of just like skill in terms of like, and I think overall as well, like when you're maybe mapping out an album or you're like creating things or like piecing things together, it's like, how does it read as a whole and all that stuff. It's like, those choices that you make, and for better or for worse.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
But you should definitely check out that album. That's a really cool album.
The great thing about doing this podcast is like, you know, we get people on and they're just like, oh, let's do this and this. So it's just like bags of albums that I need to get through. But it's good though. No, it's really great. I think we should hear some of your music.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So Bay came in earlier on and played a few tracks from us. Are these are all on the new album?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll talk about the album in the next bit. Is there anything you want to tell the audience before they listen to the set? It's Camera 2, which is that one? The higher up one. Come on, give us Camera 2, baby.
Yes, I will try and succinctly say that the Meadow album, which these 3 tracks are from, is a concept album, and it takes place in this fantasy setting, the Meadow, that is kind of this sort of perfect summer day that's dreamy, and the album is all about that being a safe space that you've sort of created to stay there and to stay idle and inactive. And the sort of struggle in the album is about knowing that actually you no longer belong there and that it's time to move on. And that truth sort of has a inner conflict within it because you don't really want to leave, but you know you need to. So by the end, the last track isn't one of the ones I played, but it's called Beyond the Meadow, and it's really about those final steps that you have to take to just leave that space. So
awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
Does that kind of make sense?
That was good, man.
A pitch that kind of.
That was a solid.
From all the press releases I've been writing, I'm like, what does this mean?
No, that was great, man.
Cool.
Right, people at home, I hope you enjoyed Bay's performance. We'll be back about 10-15 minutes. We'll talk about the tracks and God knows what else. And
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see. So we'll see you all shortly. Goodbye.
Bye. Hi, my name is Bay Bryan, and I'm releasing an album at the end of September or in autumn, and I'm playing a few songs from that. This first one is called Sticky Shadows, which I'm actually releasing on July 16th. So hope you enjoy. Everything I say will be meaningful or meaningless depending on the day, depending on whether I can let go of my sticky shadows, running free and wild as if I was and always will be a flower child, running free, running wild to let go of my sticky shadows, trying to get high. Higher than life, higher than wrong, higher than right, higher than low, higher than high, higher than all those sticky shadows. Said, oh my, will I live within this meadow till I die, or will I learn to go where the wind blows? Leave these sticky shadows. Said, oh my, if it were I were a bird, I'd fly out high, out above and out beyond the boundary line of this sticky meadow of mine, trying to get high, higher than life, higher than wrong, higher than right, higher than low, higher than high, higher than all those sticky shadows. Trying to get high, higher than life, higher than wrong, higher than right, higher than low, higher than high, higher than all those sticky shadows. 'Cause everything I say will be meaningful or meaningless depending on the day, depending on whether I can let go of my sticky shadows. Thank you. Yes, lovely. I'm getting into it now. So this next song is called Sweet Joan. And the whole album is kind of about being in this fantasy meadow space that I or one has created, and it's kind of about the journey of finally leaving that space. And this is kind of a story within that story, and it's about a sorceress named Evelyn who must do all she can to save her mortal lover, Joan, from a mysterious and magical illness. Did I get that? Did that sound all right? Yeah. That was clear. Upon this eve, darkened by her grief at her bedside she does weep. For laying ill is her lover, human creature now weak, whose lips have grown cold, with no strength left to speak. And the spell she has tried failed to succeed, and her powers are nearing their peak. And as risky as is, she's one move left to play, a dance with the gods so that her love may be saved. Oh, 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 oh. She'll do what she must to save her sweet Joan. So out of the cottage swiftly she goes, the bright night is heavy and cold. Her green frock that's tattered now flaps as she patters along on her way toward the meadow. Oh, off she goes, quick like the wind blows, through the trees escaping the light of a full moonlit night and star-peppered sky. So deep in the meadow lie a circle of stones surrounding a pit all ablaze, and there at the center our sorceress tames a wild inconceivable flame. She chants as she works with focus and fight, her gaze keenly aimed at the sky. With precision she moves, dancing round while she beams, and pleads to the gods so that they join in her scheme. Oh, oh my God, she screams, lend me your aid to save my sweet Joan. Oh, I do know what risks I am taking to save my sweet love. To answer the witch, the gods send a gift, a handful of stars lower down and join in. Oh, what a sight, this coven of lights, all rotating round this fire, burning white. Oh, we sing for you, my sweet Joan. We dance for you, my sweet Joan. My sweet Joan, my sweet Joan, my sweet Joan, my sweet Joan, my Joan. We insist this fatal illness now fly, but by conjuring this magic I may die. Oh, I always said that you'd be the death of me, but neither you nor I will be leaving tonight. No, my love, my soul, don't go. I'd rather die than live a life alone without you. Oh, I always said that you'd be the death of me, but neither you nor I will be leaving tonight. Thank you. Whoosh. Had a moment there with one of those chords, but I think we're good, right? Yeah. That's live. That's live. So I hope you enjoyed that. This next song is called Let Go, and it's the second single from the album that I'll be releasing in August. And this one is like a summer evening or a road trip to the beach. I'm just gonna stop talking now. Let go of this lush stream, so mild and inviting. I know we'll do the right thing when we give it up. This spell we keep conjuring, sadistically harboring. Its charm is now floundering. Time to give it up. All the leaves are turning. Oncoming autumn is calling for this fickle heart to give the summer up. Take in these surroundings, peaceful yet confounding, with no real sense of belonging. Time to give them up. So be brave and be bold, love, when you go beyond the meadow, for there's more than just sticky shadows out there in the wood. All the leaves are turning. Oncoming autumn is calling for this fickle heart to give the summer up. Old winter will be looming there where the blue will be blooming, and this fickle heart will try to find another start. All the leaves are turning. Oncoming autumn is calling for this fickle heart to give the summer up. Old winter will be looming there where the blue will be blooming, and this fickle heart will try to find another start. And this fickle heart will try to find another start. Oh, this fickle heart will try to find another start. Oh, 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 Thank you so much.
Right. So, where can people find your stuff online then?
So, you can find me on Instagram @_Bay Bryan, and then from there, the world is your oyster. I feel like that's a good entry point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for coming on today, man.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Cheers. Hello and welcome back to episode 28 of the Kicking Back podcast. We're just in the middle of talking about Bay's hometown, Colorado.
Yes. Hometown.
Hometown.
Home state.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's massive.
Massive.
Big
We're on
town.
our second drink now.
Yeah, we're good.
Second drink.
Second. We're very professional here. It looks so beautiful, though.
It is
It does.
gorgeous.
It
Yeah.
just, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's absolutely amazing.
Do you miss Colorado at all?
I do miss the access to nature. Like it's just, I mean, you can get to the Lake District here and things like very easily. So it's actually amazing and gorgeous here as well. So don't get me wrong. But I think the ethos, if that's the right word, for people who live in places like Colorado is very much like they work, but like a huge priority for them is to like get out into nature and be active. So people hike a lot. People will go like mountain bike riding. People will, snowboard, ski. Like that's kind of a reason why they're in Colorado. So like people are really, really active and into outdoors. So, yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous. Basically, Colorado is just split kind of into by the Rocky Mountains. So the east side of it is like the plains going into the just like Kansas and like, not that interesting. And then the west side of it is like going into the desert, like into Moab and like Nevada and going into the Grand Canyon. So like when you drive through the Rocky Mountains, and this won't just be in Colorado, but when you drive from east to west, like you're going from very, very different like spaces. And also Denver is the capital city of Colorado, and it's called the Mile High City because like literally even on the plains, it's a mile high. I don't know what that is in kilometers or
miles,
or
1.6
meters,
or something. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, it's something like that. So like it's already very high, but then when you're going up into the mountains and you're going up onto the peaks and all that stuff.
1.6. Nice.
Spot on 1.6.
No, it's very 1.6 kilometers high. So yeah. And then when you do start getting to the other side of it, it's like the plant life changes, and all of a sudden you're like in the desert. It's an amazing place.
It sounds amazing. It begs the question, what the hell are you doing here?
I know. Well, I came for love, as I said.
Yeah.
Love brought me here.
Love
is a strong drug.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the like the biggest thing in everyone's life. Isn't it?
Yeah. But to be fair, like I will say it again, and I always say it, like I absolutely love Manchester, and it absolutely feels like my home.
So do I. Yeah.
And like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think because I've lived in a few places, as most of us have, like they all feel like home in a certain way. Like Glasgow feels like home in some ways. Manchester, this is where I live. This is where I work. This is where all my like main people are. But then Colorado is obviously just holds a really strong piece of most of my family's there. So
How often have you gotten back to Colorado?
I prioritize trying to go back for Christmas at least. And crazily enough, I actually so one of my best friend that I was talking to about, Casey, she came and like we grew up together. We known each other since we were about 9. She actually flew over last year in July, like when it was just allowed for her to fly, and she stayed with my partner and I for like 5 months. And it was great. And like she basically like helped me sort out my career kind of or just like give me a little bit of like structure. And then we actually ended up traveling back to Colorado together, even though, it was crazy because we had to put on like masks and stuff, wear them the whole time, like on the flight, except when you're eating. Like it's weird. Traveling like during the time was crazy, and we ended up isolating in her mom's basement.
Oh, right.
For like 7 days, and then got a test. And then after I got a test, I was able to properly like go to my family's house, my parents' house, and like actually stay with them and see them, which was amazing. But no, I feel kind of bad for my partner Fraser because I basically just tell him I am not spending time here for Christmas, but it's kind of it kind of has to happen for me. Like it's got to happen at least one time a year, and I want to go. Christmas is a really important time for my family as well, so I really try and go. And we also go to a cabin in the middle of the woods every year. Like it's literally like it's
in the Rockies.
Yeah, it's a magical. You have to hike out there for 3 miles from a trailhead. Like you have to hike all your food in. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no nothing. It's solar powered, and there is a working toilet, so that's amazing. And there's running water from that, and a well, like basically a well with like making the running water running. Whatever, I can't.
How many drinks?
We get you, bud. We understand.
I'm only on 2, but I'm such a lightweight. But yeah, no. So that. Yeah, I think, and something about that pilgrimage, like that yearly thing is quite important for me. And I think just for my family, and it's like, it feels really important to just be there once a year and take that time to kind of, reflect on the year and think about what happened and what you want to happen. And I have 3 amazing sisters, 3 older sisters. I'm the youngest, and they're all like powerhouse humans, and so incredibly inspirational. And like I need my parents and my sisters' kind of energy around me, like to really like help along that sort of progression of myself, I think.
Yeah. Is your do you come from like a particularly musical family?
Yeah, I do actually.
Right.
My dad, he doesn't play any instruments. He's very much a raconteur and a storyteller. Like, and he's definitely he's a joke teller. And he's just I grew up calling him Dada because he just knows so many things. He's an engineer and he's just incredibly smart. My mom is a medical doctor, but she comes from a dancing background, and then her mom taught the piano and played the piano. So growing up, and she also plays the piano too. Growing up, basically we were told we had to play the piano and then another instrument. It wasn't like you have to, but it was kind of like we were doing. And I immediately gravitated to the piano when I was really, 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 really young. And then I also played the guitar. And but yeah, we had a total Von Trapp family vibe at one point. Like for my mom's 50th birthday party, we sang and like played like my oldest sister played the flute, my second oldest sister played the harp. My third oldest sister played the violin, and then I was on the guitar, and we were like singing, like, you know, it was mental.
That sounds great.
Totally like that. But my family's kind of like that.
Yeah. I love that. So I didn't have that kind of musical family. Like, my parents love music, and my brother loves music too, but no one, I was the only one who started playing an instrument, to be fair. So last Christmas was the first time I ever had that kind of Von Trapp like thing, like you were talking about. Just like me and my parents just wasted, just like I was on guitar, we just spent the whole Christmas, the actual night of Christmas, just playing like Neil Young songs and stuff, and everyone, Eva Cassidy, everyone just belting. So it's so nice to get back to that, you know.
I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Can't be it.
So I was going to like sort of, I guess your parents are quite a musical influence on you. Was there any stuff that they listened to that you sort of gravitated towards at a young age, or stuff that they'd have on in the house and you were like, I'm always kind of interested in the origins of music. Totally. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, I don't know actually. Funnily enough, I don't think it probably did to certain. I feel like maybe it was the musicals. Maybe it was like I remember Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Classic.
Like, you know, like musical films like that. I think that were something that all my family could share in. So things like that, I think I would say inspired maybe my love of musical theater, or maybe that kind of way of like a story through song.
Okay.
But I don't recall my parents listening to, you know, like my parents were not like listening to the Beatles all the time, even though they came from that like time. Yeah. But like that wasn't like, records weren't playing in my house all the time.
Okay.
During Christmas time, my mom would always play like Pavarotti or something like and also Scottish music and like like Celtic music, because we have Scottish heritage. Yeah. So that, like, I think that kind of music probably played, but I'm trying to think. I feel like a lot of my like musical influences came from me just in my room by myself listening to, you know, whether it was Michael Jackson or Usher, or with friends, you know, like that shared kind of thing, obsessing over like a dance move or something like that. And so that was like specifically like Usher 8701. It was like U-Turn or something. I remember learning that choreography. But I listened to loads of different music, and I think also like Sister Act 2, major influence for me.
Right.
Massive.
What a great film.
It's the best.
So
Literally
good.
the best.
Yeah. Amazing.
And rewatched it with Casey, who I mentioned earlier.
Right.
Like rewatched it. I mean, we watch it like literally every year just to like, test, just to see if it's still good, and it's
still
always
good.
good. Yeah.
It's a classic one.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know, like in terms of musical influences, I like from my parents, I'm sure that like a lot of like I got influences from them, but you know, I listened to a lot of kind of singer-songwriters and people talking about like, you know, their parents like owned a sound recording studio or something, or like their dad was like basically pushing Bob Dylan onto them, and that's like they're inspired from that thing, but I didn't have that really at all.
Okay, interesting.
So, yeah.
Do you remember the first album that you bought, if there was one?
I actually think it wasn't one that I bought. It was, well, I have 3 older sisters, so I had a lot of CDs around. So maybe that's a musical influence. You know, like Tupac, my oldest sister, you know, she had a phase. She's the oldest. She had to like, you know, have a proper teenage phase for all of us.
Of
you know,
course.
she's got to carry that baton.
Yeah.
Right? So she had like, you know, Tupac and like No Doubt and like, you know, just things that like, so I think that kind of music I definitely heard a lot. I heard like Blink-182. I heard a lot of that inspiration and influence. What were we talking about?
I was just saying the first album that you...
Right. Cool. Brilliant. It was either Michael Jackson Bad or
Classic.
Alanis Morissette Jagged Little Pill.
Okay.
Right? Which is probably why it's still very good. But honestly, it is a really good.
Yeah,
I will
and
check it
still,
out.
It still
I
resonates
will.
with you now, though. So
What's that?
It still resonates with you now. Like,
Oh my God,
it's
yeah.
just such a
And
cool thing, isn't it?
I mean, I listen to it all the time randomly, like, and it's not that one that you listen back to and be like, why did I like that? No, it's like this is actually a really good album, and that was like an album that one of my sisters had, and I was like obsessed.
Cool.
That's cool, man.
I was gonna ask about like kind of discovering your sexuality and things like that. I don't know whether it's something you really want to go into detail with.
I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
So with like gay artists, was that something you like gravitated towards, and was there anyone in particular that kind of stood out for you? And was like musically, did that like kind of resonate with you as well from particular people?
Actually, I would say no. Like, and maybe that was because there was a sense of aversion from either accepting that was a part of me. So I didn't, you know, I know a lot of queer people who latched on to art, not latched on like in a bad way. It was just like, but they held on to icons that had more queerness to them, like David Bowie or like you know, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, like that kind of musical or like that type of thing. But I think for me, I actually turned away from that, whether it was conscious or subconscious. And I don't know. I think it's only later on now that I'm like, oh my God, they're amazing. You know, like they're so fabulous. They're so cool. Yeah. And I also had a really stupid complex growing up where it was like, if anyone said something was cool and that I should check it out, I would be like, no.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed at myself.
I had that until like a couple of years ago.
I know, but I still catch myself doing it sometimes. Like, oh my God, get your shit together and stop being a dick. Like that's totally. And I like, and because of that, like I think I didn't go to like any concerts growing up. I didn't go to any concerts, and I'm just like, I'm annoyed at myself. Yeah, and it's also hilarious that this is what I'm doing now, and I've been to probably less concerts than anyone in this room, probably. But I mean, I have recently, obviously, but yeah, no, it's interesting, and I think there's something to do with that sort of like aversion of like being like, obviously this is really important to me, obviously this is something that like I resonate with, or like so like I will avoid that. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe that like, you know, that queer or like gay like like artists or icons or whatever, I will avoid going in that direction. I will, whether it's conscious, like exactly like, so yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. I love how we all, like, as soon as you said, like, someone said something's cool and you want to go, like,
Oh my God.
I'll ignore that. I've had that with so many artists, man, and then I end up discovering them like 3 years later when they're maybe not quite as cool anymore. And I'm like, oh no, I get it.
Because you want to own it.
You want to own it. You want to own it, and if everyone owns it and everyone's talking about it, then it feels like you can't have that same kind of grasp, you know. And do you think that kind of drove you towards like kind of more niche or like more obscure kind of artists and things like that? Because I definitely had that, man. Like I was listening to artists where they had like less than 1,000 views on YouTube, you know, and I'd be like, boom, this is like
trying to be cool, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
What's funny is I feel like it led me to like Lauryn Hill, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, or like or just like straight up pop, like hearing that, listening to that music, I feel like I completely avoided even like going into the niche side of things. What? Yeah, I don't even know why. Yeah, it's so weird.
I know it's
so weird why we do these things.
It's just ego, isn't it? I think it's musical ego.
But then it can work in the other way. If you get past the ego side of it, then it does just mean you've discovered some beautiful music that you wouldn't have otherwise. Yeah, but it's quite funny that the balance between whether is it an ego thing, and especially the other way. So if a really mainstream song comes out that everyone's talking about, do you have a different opinion on it because of the fact it's mainstream? Like the fact that like it's got billions of players on Spotify, does that make you want to like it less to prove a point?
I definitely do that, man.
I definitely do that.
Like,
that's what I'm asking.
Prime example is what's that? Leave the Door Open. That Bruno Mars, the new Bruno Mars tune.
Yeah, that's leave the door what's it called?
I don't know that song. I don't even know that.
So the video is awesome for it.
Is it good?
It's beautiful.
But like I watched it. We can play a little bit of it, can't we, Adam? Come on, let's put a little bit on. You'll just see what I mean. It's great, like 60s kind of studio.
Will they be able to hear it?
They won't be able to hear it, but they'll be able to see
I'll explain it. What's happening?
Yeah.
There's a.
I mean,
I actually don't know what that is.
So they're like kind of in a recording studio, 60s kind of vibe.
Oh, that is fun.
And do you know Anderson .Paak?
Oh, he's amazing.
Right, so all this kind of synchronized dancing, all this sort of stuff.
Oh, nice.
But I love Anderson .Paak. Yeah, I love. Have you heard any of Anderson .Paak?
No,
stuff?
I haven't actually.
Watch his NPR, man.
Do you know NPR Tiny Desk?
Do you know who else's NPR Tiny Desk? Just going back to them, Tank and the Bangers. Have you seen that NPR Tiny Desk?
No.
That is amazing as well. Okay. Check that one out.
Sweet.
Okay. But yeah, I remember watching this video and I purposely didn't want to like it because it was like the new big Bruno Mars.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then it gets you, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's great.
You have to know. You have to be able to check yourself to be like, is any part of me trying to add anything to this which isn't already there? You know like,
absolutely.
Am I trying to look for faults in it? Am I trying to big it up for whatever reason, or can I just purely take it like from a totally neutral standpoint? It's a hard thing to do. We all add stuff. Even when you meet someone day to day, you always add a kind of a narrative to who you think they are. You don't know. How the hell would you know?
So true, man.
Yeah. It's a you have to catch it though, don't you?
Also, I think the more you kind of like give into that energy of being like, I know so much about this thing, so I'm going to like analyze it to this point. It's like, it's actually quite exhausting for yourself. Yeah. And you end up turning towards yourself and be like, oh, shut up. Like, like just like listen to it. Like, I think because, I've got into more like the producing side of the music, like where I would be like, if something was popular, I'd be like, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to find a reason why I don't like it. Like now I will listen to something and be like, that's really cool how they did that guitar. That's really cool how they did that. And like, kudos to them for like that. And also just knowing that things sell for whatever reason that they sell. And like, I don't know, for instance, like, you know, that, what is her name? Oh my God. It's called Kiss Me More.
Kiss Me More.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Adam's good, man. Adam's all over it.
Adam's on it. Boom. Is it Doja Cat?
Doja Cat and SZA, SZA or whatever. That production is amazing. Like,
Right.
like, and like when you listen to like like that is a pop song, and like, but it's like, you know, new pop. I mean, it came out in the last like year or whatever, but like you listen to that and you're like, that's good production. It's well made.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, not all pop that's popular is well made or good, but yeah, no, it is. I do kind of like pick it apart a bit more, and I'm like, how did they do that? How did they make that thing work? Like those vocals sound so cool in the mix. Like those backing vocals are like, whoa, like yeah.
That's great. I definitely, I've kind of gone the other way with it because I used to overanalyze music too much, and I wasn't appreciating it for what it was. I think that's just from, like, me and Matt are both from, like, we both went to the conservatoire in Manchester, so you kind of just get that ingrained into your mind about analysing music in that way.
Yeah.
But it just meant I could never, like, actually just sit down and listen to a track and just appreciate it for what it was. I've been able to step away from that now, and now it's like I can dip into that if I want to, and be like, if I do really love something, I can be like, oh, what's going on there? But for a long time, I was just like constantly just had that analytical head on.
It's hard to get out of it.
It is.
It's hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
But it's so important, because then the more you get into something like that, you lose complete touch with like what you know, a person who's never heard that is going to experience.
Exactly.
I find that amazing. Like, that thought's amazing, isn't it? Like, for sure. Like
you've delved way too deep to the point where like no one understands what the hell you're talking about. Like you're so into wine, so into chocolate, so into something. Like literally, like you're being like, well, the notes are like a little bit, you know, bit top end. And like the flavor is like very dry for a Portugal. You're like, oh come on, like
no one cares.
it either tastes good or it doesn't. But I mean,
case,
to be fair, like, you know, that's an art form in itself.
It
but
is.
it is like that moment where you're like, well, you're pretty much just excluding like 99% of people, and there's only like one other person that can talk to you on that same level.
So with that being said, like, because I have that thing with, if I'm drinking wine and someone's like, what do you think about the wine? I'd be like, it's definitely red. But after that, I don't really care. And the fact that people can have that to music, where I can't, if I'm listening to a song, my brain just tells me what the chords are as I'm listening to it. It's just like 6, 5, 4, minor 4. Like, it just does it, and it's really annoying. I can't turn it off. But so do you have, like, with that being said, do you have someone that you can send your stuff to and have that feedback with, who isn't a musician or isn't like trained in that kind of way, to so that when someone that listens to your stuff and does not have any kind of like biased opinion, to, you know, they can actually take it at face value in the same way I do when I'm trying wine or chocolate or something like that. I just don't know.
I think I need to find that person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to find that person, because most of the people that I send my stuff to are kind of that sort of music. Like, well, not all of it. Actually, you know, it's a spectrum. Like, maybe I don't have that person who's like fully, completely like wouldn't know any, like, the difference between like mix A or mix Z. Like, they would just be like, yeah, cool. Like, they're only listening for the only listening for the vibe. Yeah. But I think also there's I guess, like, when you said that, I was thinking about, like, you know, if I was sending it to someone to get their thoughts about like a mix or a song that I was working on, you also have to take into account if they are someone who loves you for like anything that you do.
Yeah,
and you have to be careful, because if they're that person, then they're just gonna love anything, which is great. But like, also, no, I do think I have a couple friends that I send things to that, like, they wouldn't consider themselves either, like, you know, deep in like the music kind of like 5/4 kind of chord progression or like anything like that. That will just tell me, like, did they like it, or was it missing something for them?
Yeah. I
it's important. And it also the value of like someone listening to something for the first time and getting that feedback from them. It's like, you can't get that again from them ever again. So it's like, depending on how you like put it in front of them and how you like package that and give the context, I think is really important to get like a really truthful like reaction, especially if they're very close to you.
Definitely.
So it's good to have people that literally will tell you something is shit if they feel like it's shit.
Yeah, because it's not personal. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Like, exactly.
Yeah, it's like the mums Never trust your mum.
No, especially like you like trying on a new outfit, like a new shirt or something. You know?
Not you, mum. I know you're watching. I
Yeah.
love your opinion, mum. You're great.
He does.
Just does it constructively.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
but then you need them as well. Like, because that unconditional,
You need that
like
hype.
you,
That-
yeah,
You do,
exactly,
That
beautiful.
hype wing
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
You need that sweet wing, man. It's
Yeah.
true, man.
Mm.
It's true. Let's talk about the album.
Okay. Yeah.
Seeing as, well, actually, half an hour later, let's talk about the performance that you did.
They're like, they finished watching it and they were like potentially interested in the songs, and then
Yeah.
we're like, we left.
We're gone. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about each of the songs that you did, and then we'll talk about the album as a whole and what have you.
Yeah. So let's see. Sticky Shadows I played first, and
Don't worry, that
all
happens.
good.
It
Don't
happens
worry about
all
it.
the time. It's all right. It's on
it
your.
was gonna happen.
It's
at some
on your
point.
camera, so they can't see what's
Oh,
happening.
brilliant. Okay, good.
So just
good,
you,
we're good.
you just keep talking.
Nothing happened.
Nothing.
Yeah, Sticky Shadows is that feeling. The first lyric is everything that I say will be meaningful or meaningless depending on the day, depending on whether I can let go of these sticky shadows. And it's kind of, in essence, it's like that feeling of any moment can be anything depending on how you feel
Yeah.
about it.
Totally.
And where your state of mind is, in a way. And then it's also a struggle of wanting everything to be really easy, just wanting to it's escapism. It's like it's a desire to just leave any feeling of struggle. And I think it's kind of like that thing of acknowledging how difficult like being a human can be, and like being in this like realm and reality, and like the more spirit side of things is just so much cleaner and more simple.
Yeah.
And so I think it's tapping into a bit of that, like wanting to not just desiring that sense of ease, that sense of no struggle. So it's like the chorus is like wanting to get higher than life, higher than wrong, higher than right, higher than low, higher than high, higher than all these sticky shadows,
Yeah.
So
So go on.
Go on. Just the spirit thing. What? Sorry. What do you mean by that?
well, okay, so like I mean, I'm a yoga practitioner, yoga student, and I guess teacher as well. And within the dualist side of the yoga philosophy, which is, coming back even further from other traditions and other philosophies, like there's a sense that there is a sort of spiritual plane and a kind of like truth, like with a big T, like a kind of that's probably what someone might call like God, or like the universe, or like kind of like maybe stardust, everything that just kind of connects us all together. Like that's what we might be in our essence, or like there's that thing within us that is connected to everything else.
Yeah.
So maybe your soul, however you want to think about it. And then like the plane that we are on here, like kind of conversing and relating to each other and, working, making money, all that stuff, is like the Maya. And that's like the illusion that we're all taking part in is like this. And I think like BKS Iyengar, who's a yoga teacher, talked about how basically like, as humans, we kind of are in a position where we're kind of stuck between two worlds. If you resonate with that sort of spiritual side of things, you are aware that there is something bigger, and then yet unless you fully take yourself out of the world and maybe just go and meditate on a hill and maybe just like evaporate into thin air or whatever, like you have to relate to the world as it is, and there is a certain thing. So it's sort of like our feet is on the ground in this like worldly plane, and then also like there's a part of us that's also like spiritual and you know, more free in certain ways if we can tap into it. But you sort of have to live in both.
Yeah,
kind of
definitely,
thing.
man, yeah.
So I think Sticky Shadows is kind of a like that, like like kind of wanting to be able to either tap in or to like really like, you know, like when I think maybe that's why we're so fascinated with like birds as people, because we see that thing of flight being so like, oh, you can just go anywhere, you can just can just escape and fly, and yeah.
I think it's good to clear up terms and that sort of thing. So like, dualist is basically the idea that you have like, it's described like res extensa, which is like the outside world, isn't it? And then res cogniscens, which is like the inner world, like the mind world. So you have the physical, and then you have the mind. These two things kind of coincide. And that was Descartes, wasn't it? Came up with dualism as a thing. So that's like describing. It was his way of thinking. He came up with I think therefore I am, which is his way of saying. So he realized there's something going on. It's like you have the physical world, and then you have there's like, what does it mean to be something, and how can I actually exist within my own mind as well. And he came with that. And then you have idealism is mind is primary. So a lot of religions, like Eastern religions, kind of tend to err on that side. So this is basically a dream. Like life is a dream that's kind of dreamt up on a higher plane. And then you have materialism is there's nothing that isn't physical. So those are opposites. So you have mind is primary, or the physical world is primary. And I find it amazing. I think about all this stuff all the time, how you have scientists trying to work this out and no one can agree amongst themselves. Like, what's the correct answer? And it's a fascinating thing, isn't it? Like, what are we doing here? What is it? The fact that we are physical things, obviously, but the physical things can't really feel anything. It's just a physical thing, like a rock or whatever, you know. So like, what are we doing as these physical things that we know what it's like to feel, and we have this thing of like emotions and drives and memories and all these things. Like, how could a physical thing come up with that? I love getting into that sort of stuff, man. And then basically what you realize is the better science gets at it, the closer it comes to the kind of enlightened religions, like Buddhism and stuff. The more scientists like, there's something else going on here, like, which is, you know, like you can't really explain. So yeah.
And even in yoga, which is why I like that philosophy, because there's so many different things. A lot of people think of yoga as like, you know, just like Warrior 2 and all these like specific positions, but there's so many different yoga practices. And one of them is about being quite scientific and being quite intellectual and about like picking things apart and being really sort of like, what does this mean? What does this mean? So like, but like, I completely agree with you. Like it's interesting to see how some things that have been out there in the world for us to know as like, you know, texts and things for us to learn are now way later being sort of proven or being discovered by science. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to have both, actually, because there's obviously loads of sort of spiritual practices and things that have maybe a different like intention behind them, and one of those intentions is to control people or to whatever. So like it's good to have science being like, well, yeah, if you drink that Kool-Aid, you're gonna die because it's actually poison. Like, so like maybe it's good that you don't do that. So like, I think science is really important in that process. But it is interesting. Like, I think for me with teaching yoga and with practicing yoga, like the only thing that I can really offer to people is like being like, this is your opportunity to tap into your breath, which is tapping into your body, which is tapping into your personal experience right now. Yeah. And that's really a truth that I can't dictate to you and tell you what it is. Yeah. That's your truth. Like, that's your experience. And you're going to, like, with those tools, like you're going to make good decisions for yourself if you can tap into that groundedness in yourself, you know? And that's at least what resonates with me. And then I even say, like, you know, if I say that and you're like, that's a bunch of bullshit, like you can take that or you can leave it, you know, because that might not be truthful to you, and that's fine. Yeah. You know, like that's all that I can, like, and I try my best to not just regurgitate like philosophies and information unless I honestly, like, that resonates with me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's so much for me to learn in terms of yoga philosophy and that entire tradition, which is massive, by the way, and like very complex and full of a lot of like, just you could people get PhDs in this stuff. So I'm not gonna tell anyone that I'm an expert. I don't think I'll ever be an expert. No. But I can at least pass on like that as like, you know, this is what I understand, and maybe this is helpful to you. Is that sort of realization that you might be able to find a bit more connection with yourself, with what rings true to you, and that might help you to just interact with the world from a place that has more agency. Like you're like, I have more control. I understand like where I'm at. I understand what all that means, and I have a bit more of a choice. In regards to how I interact with that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, man. I find that really interesting. The sort of thing of like you're saying, like you promote this sort of like philosophy of this part of yoga, and someone might not resonate with someone. Yeah.
And also there might be someone like in like deep in the yoga world who's like, well, he didn't really say that term right. And, or like he kind of miffed that. And I'm very aware that I might be, you know, like even in my like delving into that, like my understanding of yoga could still be very westernized and still be a bit like wishy-washy. Yeah. And I'm still trying to figure it out. But
that's fine. I think like I'm big into like the mindfulness stuff. I did used to do yoga. I don't do it as much anymore. I just like meditate every day, but it's like that thing of finding your personal, whatever your personal thing is, of like bringing you into that space of like being in the present moment. And you know, like it might not be yoga, it might be like reading a book or like going for a walk. It's like it's exactly what you're saying. It's like finding that space, that activity that brings you that space within you, if you get what I mean. I find that really, really, really interesting. Because I've tried to like not cram it down people's throats, but I've been like, this is what I do, and some people don't like react to that well. Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh, no, that doesn't make sense at all. And you know, trying to like push that on someone, especially when they're not ready to hear it. It just never goes down well at all. But like finding, But that's for me, like the biggest realization was like just realizing that we are all so individual, and like you can't expect one template to fit one person. You know, and in the same way that I don't believe in the vast amount of religions that are out there, it's not for me. But it doesn't mean that someone else down the road that does believe that doesn't mean their belief in it is any less valid. Do you know what I mean? Because if it gives them that same sense of wholeness and like spiritualism and stuff, it's still equally valid, because all of our experiences are just individualized anyway, aren't they? I don't know. I think it's really, really interesting. Because I was into the yoga thing, but I was never used to be into like the spiritual side of it. I was more into just the sort of the physiological side of it. But now, I think I would be more that way inclined in terms of like, I wouldn't say I was religious, but I would definitely say I was spiritual. And when you were talking about this sort of this one, I describe it as like the one life, the thing that flows through all of us, that makes us all, that connects us all. I'm definitely more on board with that sort of thing now. So I think maybe my mum's very much into yoga. So when I go home, I'm going to be doing some yoga with her, but I think she likes all that stuff. So I think I'll try a bit of that with her. But it's great, man. Individually,
I love that.
Just finding that little bit of space is so important.
Totally.
Just because our brains are, at the end of the day, they're muscles, aren't they? And they need time to rest and to sort of what's the word? I don't know. I'm just talking shit.
No,
I'm just talking shit.
No, I
man.
love
You're not talking shit.
Could I do something weird that I feel like maybe no one else has done on this show?
Of course you
Go for
can.
it.
Please.
Could you talk amongst yourselves while I go pee?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Go for it, man.
Absolutely.
I'll be back in 1 minute.
You
I thought you were
go
gonna
do-
lead a guided meditation.
Yeah, I thought it was something crazy
I
like
could do that as well.
No, that's fine,
Something
man.
kind of- that's not weird, man.
Go. Yeah. Have you ever done the yoga stuff? Mark?
I've done almost no yoga in my life. I've done quite a lot of like stretching and stuff. But no, I wouldn't call it yoga because there was no one to tell me what to do. So I don't know whether it counts or not.
It's great, man. It does make you feel amazing afterwards. Just like the deep stretch.
Honestly, there's not an excuse I could come up with for why I don't do it because you don't have to do it for very long. It's just one of those things. Like it's about making it a habit, isn't it? So, can you give up 5 minutes every day just to make a start on it? Like even less. Can you give up a minute? I give up a minute of my day all the time to do something
Just
totally useless.
Yeah, just hang out and chill.
Exactly.
It's true, man.
So it's just being really, really wise with your time, isn't it? And being like, right, this is important. It will make a difference. So why not just go for it?
Yeah, man, it's true. Adam, have you ever tried any of that stuff?
I got a bit into the there's yoga with Adrian.
Oh yeah,
Classic.
I started going into those.
Can we pull up yoga with Adrian? This is what my mum does. She does yoga with Adrian. She's amazing. And I love her dog, Benji or whatever his name is.
Right.
Awesome.
I've not seen this.
Have you seen this? But yoga with Adrian. Have you,
Yeah, she's great.
That's one that my mum does a lot. But we were just talking about it.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
She's great.
Really great teacher.
Yeah, she's just.
It's literally just like hundreds and hundreds of videos that are all designed to be like one session a day kind of thing.
I know.
Really
Yeah,
good.
she really does what she does well.
She tailors it really well. I've definitely had I've had like back problems and things like that when doing this sort of stuff. It really, really does help quite a lot actually.
Yeah.
How did you get into yoga, and how did you get into kind of? I presume kind of mindfulness comes hand in hand to an extent, but did one come before the other? Or?
Oh, I don't know actually. I think. Oh man, that's a really interesting question. I don't know where the mindfulness element came from. I do know. I could see a vision of myself as really, really small me, like pretending like I was meditating out in my front yard.
Yeah.
Imagining that I was controlling the wind.
Oh.
So I was very like that as well. I was like, I'm like the wind, like I've got it, like it's gonna like whoosh, like that. I still believe that I did control the wind a bit, but like I think I've always been a very physical person. Like I grew up doing tons of sports and tons of activity. I did loads constantly. I played football or soccer pretty much from the time I was 3 until I was 18. And then within that, I did like track and gymnastics and all that stuff. So I think like the physical side of things, when I studied musical theater, I had dance. But I think maybe I was also going through a bit of a sort of finding myself kind of thing, leaving home, trying to like figure out who I am and all that stuff. And I think my oldest sister at that time had maybe already started to get into yoga, and maybe I'd done one thing with her and then became a little bit interested. And then I just started to take some online yoga classes in my like student halls when I was about 18 or 19 or whatever it was. And I just remember doing the classes, and at the end, lying there in what we call savasana or shavasana, and feeling this sort of like vibration, like this vibrating energy, and just like, something was this amazing feeling. And I just thought when I was in that position, I was like, I'm going to teach this one day. Like, I'm going to lead this one day. Like, I like see that, like for some reason, even though I didn't know anything about it. Like something was, I was just like, I think I'm going to teach this someday. And, I kept on, doing it for myself. I had one YouTube video that I just did all the time, to the point where like I just turned off the screen, but had this yoga class going, and I could just do it. And I had a pretty like consistent-ish practice where I would always come back to just doing some yoga, maybe going to yoga classes. And then it wasn't until I moved back to, so basically when I went to New York City, and I lived there for 4 years, and that whole time I was in a long distance relationship with my partner, who was in the UK. And when we decided to get engaged and to go that route, to like, in order to live in the same city, live in the same place, I moved back to Colorado with my parents.
Right.
Because New York is just insanely expensive. And I got like 5 jobs, and I was working like crazy, like just to make some money towards this visa. But I prioritized, like at that time, this was 2017, this sort of yoga teacher training kind of came up, and it was on my list, but it was nowhere near the top.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like there, and I was like, I'm doing this. And so I did that, and it was, I think, August. It was like an intensive like month or 2 month thing. And I became got my 200-hour teacher training end of 2017, and then I moved here in October, and I kind of like within that period started teaching and getting into that more. But yeah, it's been a journey, and it feels really right for me, I think, especially because I'm balancing like Queen Bayard and Bay Bryan and like all these other things going on in my life. Like actually the teaching of the classes like brings me balance, and I'm like, I need to teach them in order for me to stay balanced.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it's like, it offers that for myself, like within my life, like to find some balance for me.
Yeah. I bet it's the same thing when I'm teaching guitar. I'll be saying stuff to someone, and I'll realize I'm literally saying something that I need to hear.
Yes.
And it's like a deeper part of you saying something like, it'll do like something really similar. Just slow it down, man. It's not that bad. Like, slow it down. You might just need to do it a few more times, but it'll be all right. And I'll be like, wait, I was trying something yesterday that wasn't going, but I just need to, like, what? You know? So it's like there's another part of you.
Do you know what you might be interested in? There's a book called The Talent Code.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I've not read it, but I've heard about it.
You should definitely check that out. Just as a teacher, I think you would really enjoy that, because the book it's basically about the neuroplasticity of the mind, and what is it, neuro psychology or something like that. Right. That might not be true, but it is the neuroplasticity of the mind. I know that's true. Yeah. But basically, it's about. Well, he talks a lot about the relationship between the student and the teacher, and like that element of it as well. Yeah.
It's fascinating, because I remember, like I used to read like guitar magazines and stuff all the time, and one of my favorite guitarists pointed that out. He said he became a better guitar player when he became a teacher, because he realized there was like there was another part of him which could basically call out like his own kind of like bad habits and things like that, and just become aware of that, and basically being able to turn something on yourself and be like, well, I know this about other people, but what about me? And usually you can't really see something in someone else that you can't see a little bit in yourself first. Usually the two would come way more hand in hand than you think, and through that he'd be saying something and be like, oh, I'm basically talking to myself right now through that. So I'm sure you probably had the same thing with yoga. Like,
oh my God, yes. Like if when I practice on my own, that's when I'm having the most difficult time grounding, the most difficult time like connecting with my breath, connecting with my body. But when I'm passing on that, those cues that we all need to hear, for some reason I listen to them more.
Yeah, exactly.
if I'm letting that sort of, like basically structure just like come out, and it's serving other people, it's also serving me. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously I'm not in the place that I have been in the past where I'm, like sweating and fuming and being like, I can't relax. It's just interesting how it's a different challenge to be a student when you have to be the student, or when you have to be doing the thing. When you're teaching, it is like that. It's like that friend on the outside looking in being like, your relationship is fucked.
It's so true.
And this is why. And then so you're in it and you're like, I don't what do I do? Kind of thing. But it's kind of like it is nice to be on that teaching role, because you do get that perspective. And then I think if you have that sense of like, that's actually me in a way, like you start to, it's like a really nice kind of like click that you have. You start to, if you have that moment, then you do start to apply it to your own playing or your own life. And you're like, I can actually use this in a really positive way. Yeah.
Totally.
Do you think any of the sort of spiritual aspects of all that stuff, do you think it ever comes into your lyric writing or your music sort of side of things?
Yeah, I think it's hand in hand, honestly. And I think that like this album specifically is about like, I think, so basically I describe it as this space that's like a daydream, right? And I'm inviting you into this daydream that is my own. And it's like a place that is safe and like romanticized and nostalgic. And I think I spent a lot of my time when I was really young sort of imagining things playing out, like being discovered, or like I would be like playing out in the front yard with like a soccer ball or something. I would just like imagine someone like driving by me like, you know, like these type of things were very prevalent, like I think in the way that my mind and like my fantasy worked. And I think like that tendency has caused me quite often to not fully interact with like the real world, as it were, the world that we're in, like, which is probably why it's taken me so long to share my music in this way, like enter the music industry in a more like serious or like just be like, this is my music, this is what's happening. It's because like there's that tendency to choose the more fantasy space rather than be like interacting with you fine folk. Do you know what I mean? So I think the Meadow is like, it's like that journey, like of being in that space, knowing that it's like, it's really time to like move on. It's time to like interact a bit more with a different truth or a different reality. So that's the idea, is like there's this gorgeous space that you've created that is beautiful, and it's a space that you do feel safe and you do feel comfortable, but you know that something, the next chapter is calling you. And that, for some reason, like, I'm wearing like this yellow orangey color. Like for me, it's like the color of the album is very yellow and golden, and there's a lot of lyrics that talk about that color golden, and then there's this color blue that is like calling me out, and it's like somewhere in this forest, but maybe even beyond that. It's like it's a bit more abstract than literal for me. But it's weird because when I was writing and these lyrics were coming up, I was looking up some of the definitions for like these colors or what they meant. I mean, you could probably find complete different meanings for these, but like they definitely served what I'm going for. What I felt is that yellow can actually mean a little bit of, what is the word? Insincerity, or like it's like tricking you. There's like a trickery to it.
Okay.
To the color yellow.
Interesting.
And then and blue actually has like a more like spiritual, core, truthful meaning to it. And like that those were the definitions that I found, that I was like, that's interesting. It's like like there's maybe like a trickery around this like meadow space.
Can I?
Yeah.
Right. So really interesting. So Jimi Hendrix, one of the best, like just a freaking genius. Let's face it, like unbelievable,
absolutely.
like just one of a kind talent. Axis Border Love, he says he's talking about all the different colors, isn't he? And he's saying that they're all borders love or whatever. He talks about yellow, and he say, "My yellow in this case is not so mellow. In fact, I tried to say it's frightened like me." So like just started tying with the trickery thing, like saying like yellow's not what it appears to be.
Yes.
It's interesting that you said that. I don't know whether Jimi Hendrix had a clue about any of this, but he had synesthesia, so he saw.
That makes so much sense.
Which is again, it is like this crazy thing where you're people without it can't really understand it, but when so basically like color and sound, like light and sound, as they appear in your brain, they're both just it's oscillators just like working. So for some people there's a little bit of an overlap, so sound and color end up being the same thing. So when you hear a sound, you also see a color. You literally see it, like so if you don't have it, it's really hard to imagine, but like a note plays and it's like, oh, red, like you literally see it in front of you, kind of thing.
It's amazing.
So the fact, it is amazing, but the fact that he kind of saw like trickery or like deceit in yellow, and then you're talking about it,
That's crazy.
I've
never heard that before.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because it makes you think there's there's got to be something to it, right?
There must be something to it.
Otherwise, it's a very strange coincidence that someone with synesthesia can see yellow as being like deceptive, and then you can say it from your standpoint. Interesting, right?
It is trippy. I love that.
Yeah.
Fuck knows what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has to be, well, for me, like I think it's got to come from like an ancestral kind of place. There has to be some sort of association. It's the same with the what's the paralysis? Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
You know, people see like the old woman on the chest, or when.
Have you ever had sleep
Have you ever
paralysis?
had that?
I have, yes. Yeah. No, I have, absolutely. Are we talking about just like literally you can't
You can't move,
yeah.
but then a lot of time people talk about like having this woman, like an old woman,
which I've had like twice now. It's horrible.
Like it's literally an old woman?
Yeah, so I've had it.
That.
I had to Google it because when I had it, I was like, "What the hell just happened?" Apparently, it's quite common. Thank God.
Wow.
But it's and again, like you said, it's probably an ancestral thing. But for some people, they get sleep paralysis. So sleep paralysis, you wake up a little bit before. You wake up in a certain part of your sleep cycle, and your body, as like a preparation thing, releases certain hormones, and those hormones basically make you like you visualize something in front of you that's not really there. And for a lot of people, it happens to be like an old hag. So it's called like the old hag
I was actually
thing.
going to ask, like, is it like Baba Yaga or something?
It could be, man. It could be, yeah.
Wow.
Adam, do you want to Google this just in case people at home are going like, what the hell? It's true. So I've had it twice now. And one time was at the foot of my bed, just like looking at me, this like kind of old ghostly thing.
Wow.
And I've had it as well where it's like basically been right next to me. And I've woken up and neither time I wasn't really scared. I was more just really like curious. It's like, why? So I don't think I had it as bad as other people, but some people have it where they're basically being like straddled by like an old kind of witch lady thing.
Wow. That's so cool.
And some people also just have sleep paralysis where there's no like visualization, no hallucination, but you just wake up feeling like everything's wrong in the world and you can't move and you want to scream but you can't, and all these things. And it's just something the body does. It's not like it's not magic. It's not an illusion or anything. It's just a really, really strange physical thing that happens.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
the night hag.
Here we go.
Night hag.
The night hag or old hag is the name given to a supernatural creature commonly associated with the phenomenon of sleep paralysis.
What?
Okay.
That's fascinating.
So you'd never had that before?
No, I've never heard that before, but like I am actually quite like I've always been really intense in dreams and have like quite a lot of lucid, like I know I'm dreaming kind of like dreams
where you have control.
A certain sometimes I have control, sometimes I don't have any control.
Okay.
And quite a lot of those dreams where I'm like running, but I can't run as fast as I know that I'm capable of.
Classic.
And that type of thing, or like the one where you're trying to. Well, for me, it's like it's a lot of flying dreams, but like I have to like bounce, like I'm on a moon, like moon bounce to like get to the point where I can fly. And it takes like a lot of like bouncing sometimes to actually like get away from gravity, kind of.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people, like I've done a bit of a YouTube thing. Yeah. People say that you can train yourself to be a lucid dreamer. I've never really The only lucid dream I ever remember is one that I had like a recurring nightmare when I was younger in my old house in Radcliffe in Manchester. Basically, it was like the living room here, the kitchen here, and there's like a corridor, and then there's like a central staircase, and it went up to the bedrooms.
Yeah.
And my bedroom was up here on the right. And in this dream, I would wake up from my bedroom and like hear something downstairs, come down the stairs, and then as I got to the bottom of the stairs, this like literally looks exactly like a Dementor out of Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Big black, cloaked, can't see its face, whatever. And I'd turn around and run up the stairs, and then it would grab me. I feel it grab me by the foot, and I'd turn around and they'd yank me, and I'd wake up. And the only ever lucid experience I've had was the last time I had that dream, where basically it grabbed me, and I turned around and I just kicked it in the face.
Nice.
And then I got out of there, and I woke up, and it was fine. But that's the only lucid dream that I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, the only one. Never the rest of the time I'm just off in La La Land. Things are just happening. But I don't know whether you need to have a certain type of mentality to be able to lucid dream. I don't know.
I've heard a lot of like things, and this has made me like lucid dream more, is that if you keep like a dream journal, or you just take like a moment to try and explain a dream to someone like the next day, like if you have a dream that you wake up and you kind of remember it, if you actually just try and explain it, which always is weirdly so difficult, even though it's like kind of clear in your head, but like the second you start explaining it, you're like, what? This isn't right. Like, this isn't exactly what I'm trying to say. But like for me, just by doing that, or like taking that, like I will start to lucid dream more often. Like the more that I talk about it, the more that I like write it down and stuff. It's really trippy.
There's something about every day clocking in, saying, I am conscious now, I'm present, and I'm aware of everything that's going on right now. Apparently, that's one of the ways into lucid dreaming, because it just means you're more likely in a dream state. Like basically, like as you're going about your daily business, it's like the same thing when you're conscious, like just day to day. It's the same. It's the same part of your brain which conjures up the images that you see in front of you, whether you're awake and you're fully conscious or whether you're dreaming. So when you're in a dream, and you're visualizing all these things going on, if you throughout your day you're consciously remind yourself that I am present and I am aware of everything, then because I've had it a couple of times now where I've been dreaming and part of me is like, oh, I'm conscious now. It was like I am in this dream, and I am like, I am now the agent within this dream, and I am in a field somewhere near London for some reason, and I am with this bunch of old friends there, and a few of them are from college, a few of them are from school, and we are watching a gig, and I have no idea why, but it's like I'm present to this, and that's a really weird. It's a different thing to just having a dream where you don't have that same level of agency. But for me, it always starts as a really, really strange thing where it's like, I'm conscious. Like, I'm literally present to everything that's going on right now, rather than just being along for the ride. The lucid dreaming thing's funny. It's probably something that you want to, like, it's really interesting to do. Some people do it as, like classical musicians do it as practice. So they use a lucid dream time, because when you dream it's like 5 seconds, right? Like max, like something like that. I think it's like 3 to 5 seconds, but it feels like hours. So some people get like a few hours of practicing every night. They just sit there and they work. They get like they go to sleep.
That's definitely what classical musicians would do.
Absolutely. They're there and they're like
practice room.
Yeah. So they have a dream. They wake up. They take the bus into town. They get into a practice room and they spend a few hours just like working stuff out. But
actually, to be fair though, like
I
feel like that practice room space is such a magical space sometimes.
Totally.
Like there is something about like when you do get into the zone with something, whatever it is, whether it's songwriting or like playing an instrument or like, I don't know if you guys have ever felt this before, but you know that moment where like all the work that you've put in, like you just kind of, you feel like you've been kind of at a similar space, and then like one day, one moment, you feel like you've like leveled up, like you're in a video game. And you're like, whoa, like something has changed. Like something, like it's such a cool experience, like as a musician or as a whatever, like all of a sudden you're just like, I am better. than I was.
That's it. Yeah.
I have something has integrated, something is set.
It just clicks, doesn't it?
It's really
it's fascinating.
But you can't count on it. Like when you're in that practice room, you can't do it. You just have to like be doing it.
You have to put in the work, don't you?
Yeah,
like
that's
day after day,
Yeah.
and then you just like pray to God that at some point. But it always does. Like if you put in the work consistently, then you do have that weird thing. Like 6 months, it's like this is going okay. I'm enjoying it, and then all of a sudden you do something. You're like, I don't know how the hell I just did that. That's really really spooky kind of thing. I guess that. Stuart McCallum called it the incubation period, which I really like. And apparently, I think he researched it. It's like a 6 month kind of period between starting something and like it coming to fruition. Like, so whether it's like scale patterns or whatever, it like something really, really basic, or whether it's like a certain way of singing or something, it take like 6 months later, like you'll see the benefit of it on average. It's different for everyone. But,
I love that.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it means that the whole time along the way, when you felt like you were at the same point, something was going on way behind the scenes, something you would never ever be aware of. Like your brain is like neuron by neuron stitching together this like different kind of like thought process, and then you finally consciously land on it, and it's like it's like this crazy light bulb moment. Kind of kicks off, doesn't it? Yeah, it is amazing, man.
Yeah,
humans are amazing. To be fair, like the more you get into it and like how brains work and the kind of this amazing computer that we all are in possession of, and the more you understand like what's really going on behind the scenes, because like the kind of thing that you think you are is a tiny part of what's really going on, like in every single second.
Yeah, and I think to be honest, like that's a little bit of what maybe Sticky Shadows is in, like, is that sort of like, it's all like, we are so complicated, we've got so much stuff going on, but what's funny is like the simplicity is like what we can, like what I want to tap into rather than the complexity sometimes.
Totally.
Definitely. Like, and that I think like just that I think therefore I am kind of thing. When we're thinking, overthinking, analyzing, well, like we can get so caught up in that computer to the point where we're like driving ourselves crazy.
Totally.
So like Yeah, it's almost like it's one of our biggest assets, but also our biggest like hindrances.
Definitely,
like the obstacle, one of the biggest obstacles that keeps us from nature, from I think because of what we have all around us. But like, it like helps us to understand things from a certain level, but it also helps us to like actively misunderstand it.
It's that,
if that makes sense.
It's that basic survival. We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? That basic survival instinct of like analyzing things and placing a story upon things to help us understand what's going on, and making a narrative for us to be like, okay, this person thinks this thing about me, or like I need to do this, and we have that because it's like that's what's helped us to become where we are in the human race right now. Do you know what I mean? It's helped us to like build societies and like make decisions and think about the future. And it's like, what do I need to do to survive for the next thing? Which is wonderful. It's a really great tool, but like you just saying, also it's a huge hindrance as well, because if you listen to it too much, it gets in the way of what is, which is like the present. You're missing it. Do you know what I mean? You're missing all that's going on right now because you're listening to this voice that's just constantly just like
one of my friends and I at a music festival like 5 years ago or something, we were a little stoned. we were a little weeded up, you know, but we had this revelation, which honestly like has stayed with me until, I constantly think about it. And like in this conversation, I'm like, oh my God, this is like this moment that like, we had this thing, which you guys have probably had as well, maybe like in a different way. But like, we were like, humans are like the philosopher and the dancer. Like, basically like, you know, we have this thing where we're like constantly philosophizing about like what is the meaning, and like it's very head energy, you know, it's very like, what does this mean, what is this, very analytical. And then there's the dancer part of us that actually is like the flow element that's really just like in the body, and it's kind of that animal, it's the nature side of our things. It's actually we're not asking any questions, we're just feeling it.
Yeah, definitely.
And like I think like we are kind of this like dance between the two, like this philosopher and the dancer.
It's true,
under
man.
the stars in Colorado, just a little bit stoned,
what more do you
looking for
want?
my friend's flip flop. Like, where did it go? Where did it go?
Yeah,
Oh, I
totally.
love that, man.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I had the same thing at the start of this year. I basically had like a weed flapjack. Had a fucking massive, like, just. I wasn't having a good time. Let's put it like that.
True.
But it did.
Basically changed like your whole life.
It changed my entire life,
Yeah.
man. Because it was. I realized there's that, like you were just saying, there's that separation of like this thing in my head, this voice in my head that was like this constantly analytical mind, and then like this the observer, the presence, the thing that can hear the voice, the thing that like is the thing that like sees things as they are, like just that moment of just realizing that because I always thought like the thought that like, this kind of like voice in my head was me, because it sounded like me. It sounded like my voice in my head, so I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
So like when I was like worrying about things, like needs to do work, and it's like, that's me. And if that's me, I've got to trust that shit because it's me. And then just having that real, basically like there was like the voice, and then me, and then when I had this, I was tripping balls, man. I was absolutely tripping balls.
Listen, it's important.
But it changed my life, man. But like when I had this experience, I disappeared.
Yeah.
And then there was just this crazy monkey brain voice. I'm going for like 4 or 5 hours. I was freaking out. And then when I came back out of it, I was like, oh. I was like, I was there, but I wasn't in control. And I was like, well, okay, so what? There's something separate then. Something was able to observe that, but not be able to influence it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I realized, I was like, oh my God, like, I've been living my whole life in this like dream.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just like this thing that goes in your head, and you're like, you always think that this is me, this is what I need to be doing. And as soon as you come out of that, and you realize, and that's how I got into the meditation stuff, and it's like, it's being able to put myself back in the opposite of that place, like pushing aside that sort of the thought mentality, the Eckhart Tolle calls it the ego.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, it's like, oh my God, like I've been asleep for like 26 years.
But even that's
crazy,
fine.
man.
Even that's fine as well. You can't even say like, oh, those last 26 years are wasted, because it's all led you to being here now.
That's true. Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with it.
Exactly.
In that
yeah.
sense,
Yeah. I will say, like, I think, like, for me personally, like, drugs like weed and a couple other ones I really regard as like medicinal drugs.
I'd say so.
Like ceremonial. Like I personally believe that like those type of experiences are important. And you actually don't need drugs to find them, by the way, kids. You actually don't. Things like yoga are very much similar in mindfulness.
Meditation,
but like I think moments like that are a teaching moment.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you have that experience, and actually you like what I believe is like, you know, when you have that ceremony essentially, you take that teaching moment, and the journey from that point is, how do I integrate that into my real existence? Yeah. And until you do that, you definitely should not be smoking any more weed or doing any more things, because that like every single experience that you have with that ceremonial drug is going to be about that same integration. It's going to be about that same lesson that you are currently learning in your life. That's what I think anyway.
Definitely.
And so like it really like the process is, how do I integrate that into my real existence? And that's why I think like sometimes the use of like, so even alcohol, even things that like, you know, we use recreationally, like a bit too much, like it sort of it doesn't allow us to make that integration. It doesn't allow us to like take us from that place that we were into that next place that we're going, kind of thing. That's what I think.
Yeah. I think a big thing around it is intention. Like for me, I used to smoke weed all the time, every day, without fail. And my intention of that was because my mind was constantly going, and I needed to get into a space of like where I could switch off, basically, because my mind was constantly like work. I think if you're using it for that reason to come into that place, it's kind of wrong in a way. Whereas if you're kind of, it's like you said, like you need to be in the right mental space to be able to use it and to use it in a way that's like, how do I put this? Come on, words. Come
on, words.
Come on.
Come on.
Like for me, like okay, so like I always used to be constant. My brain was constantly switched on, and then I would smoke weed, and I'd go fucking brain dead, but I'd be off for a while. Whereas now it's like a habit, and it enhances the experience that's already there because I'm in a much healthier mental state. I think that's a beautiful thing, and it. Honestly, like it has given me like answers to things that I would never have thought of in a normal state of mind. But it doesn't mean, like you were saying, it doesn't mean that's the only solution. Because
absolutely,
with the meditation stuff, it's basically coming into the same. For me, anyway, it's like you're coming into that same state of mind of presence, and basically it's just like turning off. For me, it's turning off the voice in your head, or like not
different awareness.
A different awareness.
A different consciousness, maybe.
It is conscious. It's presence, basically, is what I was trying. When I was smoking weed, I was trying to come into a place of presence, and basically the voice becomes quieter.
Yeah.
The same now with meditations. Like I'm able to do that, and it's given me so many answers to things which I'd never thought I'd be able to get before. Like there'll be things that I'm like thinking about for a long time. And I'll meditate, and it'll just come to me. Like I'll just be quiet, and then this thing will just drop in, like boop.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it's amazing. I think, but again, it's like it's so easy to take that thing and abuse it. I know that I'm like that, and we're all guilty of it. It's the same with like drinking and things. It's like if you're feeling shit and you want to try and feel better. Taking drugs or alcohol is not. It's not the answer. It's not the answer.
Yeah,
it's not the answer. If you're feeling good and you want to have a bit of that, that's cool, man. It's going to make you feel. It basically just accentuates whatever you're feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you feel shit, you smoke weed, you're gonna feel more shit. Like it's being in a healthy place. I think people don't know how to find that healthy place outside. A lot of people, anyway, like don't know how to find that place outside of not. Doing recreational drugs and what have you. Because I was like that for a long time, man. Like to find that place of spaciousness and kind of stuff. It's like I had to take drugs. I had to like take like MDMA and like things like that to be able to like go out on a wild night out and enjoy the night and all the beautiful things that are around. It's like now it's like I don't need to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so strange. It's like I wish someone had. Maybe I wasn't at the point in my life where I could do that, where that seemed possible. Which is fine.
But I think maybe as well, like it could be our upbringing, it could be our education, and it could be the fact that hopefully what we're teaching kids now is a bit more about mental health and a bit and we're integrating a bit more of this sort of what science is now acknowledging is like good, these things like mindfulness, things like that we're actually integrating into classroom settings for kids, that we didn't have when we were growing up. So you'd hope that like, and actually this could be completely a lie, but I feel like I've read it in a couple places that kids are like not they're actually choosing healthier options quite often, like drinking alcohols with less percentage and stuff like that, because like this healthy lifestyle is more kind of like they like that.
Yeah.
I might just be like idealizing or like a
no,
bit,
I've
but like
definitely
it could
heard
be
it, man.
that.
I've definitely heard the similar thing.
Yeah, it could be that, like this, like we do like a bit of a high in some shape or form, but actually like it's because it's adding something rather than trying to avoid something.
Yeah.
Or those the grounding blocks, the foundations weren't set or something.
Yeah, we're trying to find a place that is we're trying to access a place that is accessible without that stuff. So like without alcohol and drugs, we can get to that place, but we've not been shown how to do that before.
Yeah.
So now, like you said, I hope people. I definitely think like even the past year and a half, people talk about mental health like so much more. It's crazy, man. Like I would never really have talked about it that much before all this stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have really. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but suddenly you have to address it. Suddenly you're on your own for an extended period of time. You've got nothing to distract you. Like, what are you going to think about now? You know? What's your next thought going to be?
Yeah.
And when you realize that sometimes, if you're not careful, they can go so negative or like so focus on everything but the present moment, then there's a lot of addressing. So no wonder like we're all talking about it so much more openly than we would have done a while ago, because what else is it? Do you see what I mean? Like you leave a whole civilization alone with their own thoughts, and it's like, there's more than meets the eye here. Like I've got some. So I'm not surprised that we're at that point.
I'm not. We've all had the space.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
You know?
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. For me, a huge thing. Like I basically took the biggest step back of my life, and I realized like, it's not about me at all. It never was. It's not about me as the individual. There's these huge questions you can ask, like what we all striving for, what's it all about, and what's the thing that we can do. And so the meaning of life for me becomes like civilization. So like can we create a sustainable civilization that can thrive, and because we have this beautiful gift of mindfulness, man. Like mindfulness is one word for it. Just the human part of us, like humans are beautiful, you know, and like a lot of humans maybe don't even realize how beautiful we are, but as a race, like we have this innate gift, and I'm sure other animals have it, like elephants and dolphins and stuff like that. But being like we have this gift of consciousness, and we need to make sure that so many more generations can experience that, and we can't do anything to, you know, like what would be the sense in driving planet Earth to the point, you know, and the fact that humans as a whole at the moment we live almost like a parasite in planet Earth rather than living as a part of planet Earth.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Because like otherwise, we call the last generation like Generation Z or something, right? Like that's not optimistic.
No, it's not. Is it?
Like come on. Yeah. So what we need to do as a civilization is work out a way of like integrating with society or like with planet Earth. And just making sure that like it can be an enjoyable thing and we can work with it, you know, rather than kind of using it and taking from it and getting to the point where it's just not around anymore, you know. And and that's if that's where our meaning's at, then you can define all your goals from that. And for me, like realizing it's not about me, like the kind of ego, like the voice in my head and everything like that, you can pretty much at a certain point you can just leave that and you can be like, okay, it's a tool that I've got, but it's not the main thing. What's the main thing inside me? The main thing inside me is just this outrageous desire to be good to people and be nice to people. And when I realized that, I honestly bawled my eyes out, man. I was like,
oh, that's gorgeous.
I was like, that's the truth of it. Like there it is, and it was presented right in front of me. And it's the same thing I had when I was 3 years old, and I was sat in a swing in my garden in Canada, just swinging back and forth. And just feeling alive, like feeling like everything was beautiful, and that I had a place that you couldn't really describe in words. And when I got back to that, and having like left it for so long as well, you know, like I kind of you end up developing this mind, this ego, and stuff like that, and you go along for the ride. But after a certain point, when you find this thing of it's not about me. It never was. Like as an individual, my whole point is to be good to other people, and there's a bigger picture at work. There's this huge picture, it doesn't even have to be big actions either. You know, it can be tiny things. Like the way I realized this was I sat outside a petrol station with a homeless dude and talked to him, and I got inside my car after I'd heard about his life, but I felt so sad the whole time when I was talking to him. It's really hard to explain like what was going on inside my mind, but just this feeling of like he's another human. Like he is no different to me. He's a thing that calls himself I. Like he is in his own world, he is the most valuable thing, and from that I had this kind of weird separation. I'm like, well, he is the most valuable thing. He's me. Like there's nothing different between me and him. Obviously, like, you know. And when I felt that for the first time properly, I cried my eyes out because it's not about me. It never was. You know, is that not such an interesting thing to? You know, and I kind of feel like my whole life has been going towards that point of being like, I love other people more. And when you love other people, you also love yourself, but not in an egoic way, because you don't see a separation between you and anyone else. It's like we are all in this together, and our duty is to be good to one another as a race, not as a selfish entity. You know, you haven't woken up from the universe separate from it. You are just a part of it, like an integral part of it. Yeah, but an equal part of it. You know, there's nothing different. So.
I think that's beautiful, and I think like it's interesting to. Because it feels like, it might be a balance of like, you know, there's that whole saying that's now really famous, which is like, if you can't love someone else, if you can't love yourself, then you can't love someone else. Yeah. And I do agree with that. However, sometimes getting to that same thing that you're talking about isn't always about just thinking about yourself. Yeah. Sometimes it's actually the opposite. Yeah. Like there's other ways into that kind of love. Yeah. It could be through like giving rather than just taking or just going in. Like yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful subject though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
You know, imagine if this planet just becomes this place where humans are educated in mindfulness from the get-go to the, you know, and it's going to take time. Like no matter what, it always takes time. You know, nothing ever happens overnight. It's like bang, cool, like sold. But the thought of it being this process of individuals waking up, and the thing is, no one can teach mindfulness or like kind of being present with people. No one can teach it until they've experienced themselves. So you need present teachers as well. That's kind of a hard one, isn't it? You know, and that obviously starts with all of us as well in this generation. Like when you go on to have children and stuff, can you be really present with them, and can you kind of instill that thing of them? Like, and it's almost like being on guard, just being like, right, the rational kind of mind, that part of you is gonna want to jump in and is gonna want to try and separate itself from things, but that's okay. That's we've evolved to have it, but the next step is to kind of move past that, you know, and that's education. Like I feel like I had some pretty like present teachers in school, but I also had some who were probably not. So, and it doesn't matter about intelligence, you know. Yeah, intelligence is just remembering certain things, isn't it? But like there's a different level of like, I guess you could call it wisdom if you wanted to, but like kind of a greater sense of good, you know. So I think that'd be amazing, man. If just thousands of years on this planet, just people become more and more present, more and more loving, more and more caring, and through that end up working as another part of planet Earth. So actually working with it, and we just have this sustainable civilization. That's the meaning. That's the meaning of it all. You know,
that's what we need.
That's the meaning of life. And then through that, like obviously technology gets better and better. People can focus more on art and share their own individual message, which again, by the way, is like the most one of the most important things that we have. You know, what would life be without that ability to share art with each other and to share your individual story? And think how many people you've been moved by who can share their own individual story about, you know, their own meaning. Yeah. You know, you get these guys like Jeff Buckley come along and they just like express their whatever's going on inside them, and everyone goes like, oh my God. Just go to the bathroom really quick. You feel like that's cool. That's what I get it, man. And I think it's amazing that because there's no meaning past us, really. Like, you know, like when we're the most intelligent thing on this planet, and we have this huge burden and responsibility for what matters, because ultimately nothing matters until a mind projects the thing of meaning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We go, okay, this matters now. So it's like, well, what are you going to say matters in your life? It's definitely not what other people think about you.
No, man. Which is never true anyway.
Yeah, because they're not thinking about you.
No, because no one gives I can't remember how many times we said this on this podcast now. No one gives a fuck about you, okay? I'm sorry. People, not you, Adam. Well, maybe you as well, but like,
Yeah, definitely.
it's true, man. No one cares about you. You're not that important. Like,
No,
you know,
exactly.
you're important to yourself, but like in terms of the amount of time that people spend actually thinking about you as an individual is very, very small. And if you are a part of someone's mentality, like if I thought about my family today, but again, that was only probably like 5% of my day, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so if you are a part of someone's mentality, that's great. That you clearly have a special place, but apart from that, no one fucking cares, man. No one cares about you. Like,
yeah,
and
exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. And when I say like no one gives a fuck about you, I mean it in the best possible way, because it means you just alleviate any of that like stress or like feeling of worry about what other people think about you, because
they're not.
The way I would always equate it is like, I remember like doing a lot of like not piss poor gigs, but like gigs where you come off stage and you feel just a bit like, ooh, that wasn't great, and like, you know, you carry that. I'm like, oh my god, I wonder what people are thinking. I can't believe that. And the reality is like, let's say there's that song where you ball something up, they might, a small percentage of people might have noticed it, but like, oh, that was wrong.
I would have been like, no, just kidding.
Exactly. But that's what I mean, though. But someone
I'd have been like,
whoa.
wait, what? That wasn't the right chord.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
But do it. But only for that small moment.
Yeah.
With a small selection of people actually like notice that, and then after that, they're just enjoying what's happening then anyway, or they're chatting to their mate, or they're going to get a drink at the bar.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so all that worry that I built about myself about this mistake I made or whatever, it's like, it doesn't exist apart from in your own mentality. Do you know what I mean?
Also, mistakes are subjective, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And if your intention is to get it perfect, then the mistake is going to feel different than if your intention is to have a good time.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
Then the mistake is like, and I've been in that, like, I need to get this perfect, and then like the mistakes feel horrible, and I've been there totally. in the intention that I'm just here to show who I am, and also just have a good time and enjoy, try and be really present in this moment. And then the mistakes are just something that we all share.
It's a part of
and
it,
it's
man.
not like,
it's a part of the present moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's an acceptance of like what is, and if there's something that's wrong, it is. It doesn't matter whether it's
what's right, more in tune.
I always think of like, we had a lecturer called Maurizio, and like I just remember, it just came to me then, like, I can't remember what the performance was, but something was wrong in terms of like something wasn't the way it was meant to be anyway. And then afterwards, he was like, I love what you did there. It's like all this stuff. I was like, it's like he could look at it in a way that's like, all it is a change of mentality, man. Yeah. It's like the way you view it is like, he believed that whatever was happening then was the intention of it. Yeah. And like, if you believe it yourself, then you don't have that negative thing towards you. And like me and Matt, like, we like to like, you know, fuck around on guitar. Yeah. Like, we'll have some crazy jams, like just to the, like, basically like we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we just pick a random thing and then you just go.
I
you
love
just
that.
go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you
half an hour later.
I would love to sing on that. I'd love to sing with that.
Later on, let's
do it. Let's go upstairs.
Rock out.
I'm totally up for it.
But it's so much fun, man. And when you let go of that thing of wrongness, and just like you can hear something in your head, but okay, I'm gonna go, da, da, and then there's like, oh, on this note, it's not right. It's like, don't think about it, just go with it. And you're right, and it creates such a beautiful flow of things that's like, it's indescribable. It's past the point of whatever you could ever even possibly conceive in your mind. In terms of like, do you know what I mean? But that's great, because where does that come from? Like where's that melody? Where is that chord structure? Where's that coming from? It's outside of you, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Obviously,
I think like whenever that's happening with presence, like that's the life, the one life, the energy, whatever that is, it's just that. Yeah. It's just flowing.
The flow.
It's the flow, man. It's beautiful. And it's so exciting and hilarious, and like just like I don't know, man. It's my favourite thing. It really is genuinely my favourite thing. And I get the same thing when I'm filming. I do a lot of like one take stuff. So we'll
one take stuff is amazing. Yeah,
and it's just like when you land in the right thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it happens. You go for the take and you do it. You move around in a certain way, and it lands in a certain way, and then you finish, and you're like, and everyone looks at you like, yeah. And you can't explain what that thing is. It just it's another thing that's a ness. Do you know what I mean? An isness.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Do you think it's interesting? Like, I find it interesting that there are people, because I'm not like this.
Go on.
That genuinely enjoy being the witness in that experience, being who are able to experience that, like, you know, watching you, for instance, like jam, and they're able to like feel into that flow. Whereas there's the people, I think I'm one of these people who have to be a part of like the doing and have to be a part of the performance side of things, because that's how I tap into it. Maybe. I don't know. Like I find it so hard to watch a soccer game. I find it so hard to watch a concert sometimes. I find it so, because I feel like I have to be a part of the creating of the, like, it's like something in me like does not want to be the watcher. Like I have to be the doer.
I've never thought about that.
Weird, but I don't know. Like I mean, to be fair, like, sometimes I can be the witness and really enjoy it, but like quite a lot of the time I'm like, I want to be in that flow, like, because that's where I'm.
I wonder, like, I guess a big thing of it is that if you're not a creative person or you don't have those outlets, then I guess that is your only outlet or like is your only connection to that feeling of the sort of, I don't know what this is. There's dick on my chest going on right now.
I don't know what that is.
But like, if you know what I mean, if you're not, let's say you're not a musician, you're not a creative person, like that, but being able to like connect with that thing that's happening, that's their one avenue through getting through that. I would say, like, I love like being able to like sit back and a gig and something and just let it wash over me. Yeah, do you know what I mean? But I also understand it from the other side of the point of just like wanting to have a part of it. It's so beautiful, isn't it? You know?
Do you know what it is for me, actually? Like, in certain contexts in listening to music, I don't feel like my body is meant to just sit static. And I think that especially for like classical music, like I think the way that we are like told to sit in like a standard classical music setting is like not built for me. Like when it comes down to it, like when I hear music, I want to move, I want to dance, and like I suppose that's how I interact with it, and that's how I move with it. So like like even if I'm listening to Shostakovich or something like that, like I want to be like, you know, like moving and like doing like things on the floor. Like I don't know what it is, but like like that's how I take that music in. So I think sometimes that sort of like that I have to be like sat like this and like listening to like, you know, such an epic piece of music. That's like played by a full orchestra. I'm like, I need to be like running around this place. Like not necessarily be like the performer that's being seen, but be like interacting with the expressions,
expressing your energy into
yeah. But I don't think either's right or wrong. I'm the same when I think about it. When I think about like both of us, and I get the exact same impression from you. Like if I walk into the living room and people are playing a song or like just jamming, and there's a nylon string guitar in the corner, you better believe I'm going to grab it and just like just jump in. I can't help it. I don't know why. So and like when I'm listening, so I have a really hard time not just like singing along with it. But I don't know why. It's like pretty much automatic. Like sometimes like, wait, why am I even So I think some people have more of an ability to sit back and enjoy it, and some people have more of a thing of like the purpose of it is to jump in with it. Yeah. But I don't think either are right or wrong.
I agree.
I think and sometimes like
makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah, totally. Like,
I like the way you think.
And even if you like a classical concert, you're not allowed to move. Like some part of you's gonna be moving, man. Like your head will start just like jolting with it and everything like that. But that's fine too.
I find I daydream like crazy when I'm listening to classical music.
Oh, same.
Like
that's why I listen to it.
My head goes like my imagination goes all over the place.
That's kind of the point, though, right?
I suppose so, but it's often like way off of the music,
right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Is it like you're building a narrative along with the music, or is you just sort of like often
something
La La Land?
La La Land.
But that's beautiful. But you're in a different La La Land depending on what the music is.
To be fair, yeah, true.
Which is amazing. Like, again, that's one of the things I think is like. I think we can take that kind of thing for granted, but when you really, really step back and think about that, it's like you're sat in a room.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It might be your bedroom, but in your head, you're in a different place. You are somewhere. And my dad always points out. He says he listens to music because it takes him to another place. And I never got that until really recently, and because I realized I do the same thing. I'll put on a certain piece of orchestral music, like. And I am just in a whole nother it's amazing, man. You're not even in another place. You might be a character. You might be a character who's like living out this other life, but meanwhile you're literally sat in your room. And I think the human ability to do that is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
You realize, and then you can do it over and over again. And every single time will be different as well. Depending on the music, it might even be the same music, but still every time it's a different experience. You realize like, oh my God, I'm not just not necessarily. I'm not just where I am. I have the ability to be anywhere. Like I am consciousness itself, and because of that, because I am a conceptual mind, I'm a human mind. Then I'm more than just the sum of my parts. I'm the ability to just fly off and travel and explore. And consciousness is basically infinite from that standpoint as well, isn't it? You think, what more do you want, man? That's insane, isn't it? It's crazy. Like I don't know.
I love that.
Man, we've gone deep.
Sorry,
I don't think you're gonna final episode, episode 28.
I think we always gonna Is this 28?
This is 28.
Are you serious? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. We've done a lot of them. We always do this. We always go into like, it's always second half. It's like, right, we're going in on like
infamous second half.
Yeah, like space
that your
time.
Dedicated listeners are like, Jesus.
They switch off after the first half. They're like, okay.
This is where they've started drawing. They're just like,
doodling.
They're doodling and like, damn, like dancing, creating.
I can't help it though, man.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm in love with life. I'm fascinated by it. Like I want to go on record as saying that it is a miracle. It's unbelievable. Like the fact there's anything at all. What the hell? Like, come on. Like, the more you think about it, the more you dive into it, and the more you ask why, the more you get into the fact that, like, basically, shut the fuck up, Matt. It doesn't matter, but it is clearly a miracle, and it is there to make the most of, besides anything else, And it's even beside that, it's there to make the most of for other people. It's not about you, Like, that's the next stage, isn't it? It's like being able to be like, cool, I can see it all now. I just want to make other people's lives as good as possible. That is now my job, and I get like 80 laps around the sun, maybe, or maybe 100 of them, like somewhere around that kind of area. Yeah. Maybe one more. It doesn't really matter, but why not make the most of everything? That's where it's at, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Stunning.
stunning.
It is.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
It's
bro.
stunning, man. When you're like, there's something, there's some, like, a Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years ago, but there's something. What the hell is that? Like, I don't know. What's there to know? Like, there's literally nothing to know about it. But you are it. You are as good as it ever gets. And that, and honestly, that goes for both of you. It goes for anyone who's listening to this. You are as good as it will ever get because you are here. God knows why.
I feel like Matt should have his own just like space
I've been thinking about starting a space.
Where Matt just talks down the microphone.
I think about this
like
stuff all the time, man. Like on one level, I'm playing guitar, but on the other hand, I'm like, I can't believe there's anything at all. You know?
No, I love that. You're like the number. Yeah, you're like the sort of. I don't know how to describe it. It's good that Matt's here. Basically on the podcast.
Okay, thank you.
It's good that Matt's here.
I agree.
Because he pulls in on that thing. But I feel like, you're always pulling in on that thing. Like we can all, every guest that we talk to, we end up talking about some sort of form of this thing, don't we? And it's like just tapping into what their version of that is, or like, I think everyone deep down has that sort of part of them that wants to talk about it. It's interesting. It's life, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's life.
So
What drives you? What's the point?
Exactly.
That's it, man.
Exactly. Like what brings meaning to your life? That's the thing I'm fascinated with. Like, because it is different for everyone. That's a really, really cool thing about it.
Yeah.
Like every single person, and no one. Like, you are only right if you say this is what matters to me, then you're right. Default. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
It's individual, man. It's
Yeah.
individual. Right. I'd love to just keep fucking going on. I would. But I'll be honest, we're nearly at a 3-hour podcast.
Are we actually? There's no way that anyone is still watching. Are there people still watching? Do you know these things? Can you look these things up, Adam?
I don't.
Try and find.
We have, what's that?
It's got to be 0.
We got 3.
3. I love you 3 people.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
I think 2 of those are my parents. I feel like 2 of them are my parents.
2 of your parents and one's my mum, probably. So it's fine. Right, let's wrap this sucker up, I think.
Stunning.
I have one more question to ask you.
Okay.
No, actually, before we do that, do you want to tell us a little bit about the album, when it's coming out, and where people can find it, and all that?
Right. So the album is called The Meadow, and it is a work in progress at this moment. I am aiming for it to release at the end of September.
Okay.
So this autumn, it's going to happen. And I'm releasing 2 singles, one July 16th, which genuinely is happening. Like it's there. It's happening. It's available for pre-save, all that fun stuff.
Yes.
The second single is going to be there at the end of August, so you will be able to enjoy those things.
Nice.
But yeah, I think if you want to link up with me and you want to kind of follow the journey of that and just engage with that in any way, you can do that mainly by Instagram @_Bay Bryan, or you can also check out my website, which is baybryan.co.uk. And you can also try and find me in real life. That'd be cool too.
How would they do that?
I don't know.
Just have to track you
That'd be
down.
nice. You can work hard. You can work hard and try and find me.
And if they do find you, they've earned the right to talk to you then. In real life,
I suppose so.
Yeah.
I am playing at the Whiskey Jar on Tuesday the 13th and also the 20th of this month.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll be able to come along for that.
Okay. Come along.
Definitely do, man. That's a great night. It's a really good.
It's great.
I really love those nights.
Whiskey Jar is solid.
Got some
Manchester.
A lot of the artists we've had here, the regulars on that.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's the place as a singer-songwriter. That's a place to be, like, to be seen or to be heard or to just perform.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. One more question, babe, before we wrap this bad boy up.
Yes.
If you don't think about this too much.
Oh no.
Okay. Just whatever comes to your mind, just say it. Okay.
Okay.
So if you could sum this podcast up in 3 words,
Oh no.
what would it be? Don't think about it. It could be a sentence, by the way, if you want, like, or just random, whatever comes to mind. It's cool.
Comfortable.
Nice.
Meandering.
Yes. Very good.
Full of life.
Wow.
With hyphens in between.
yeah, I like it. So that was comfortable, meandering, full of life.
Yeah.
In one word. Yeah, I like that. Nice.
Yeah.
Matthew.
Do you know what we go first? So.
Okay. Philosophical, meaningful, fabulous.
Yes.
Bang.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Adam.
Yes.
To give us 3 words as well. Also, to people, Adam, thank you very much for stepping in today.
Thank you, Adam.
Adam is fabulous.
You've done a bloody good job. You know, we'll get you instead of George because we don't really like George that much. So
he's a nightmare.
Yeah, we
learned everything I know from
Bye,
George.
Hello, Adam. Come on, Adam. We got 3 words.
3 words. I'm going to go with really lovely people.
Thank
You're
you.
a keeper, you aren't you?
I like that.
Thanks.
Nice, Matthew.
Okay. I'm going to say space time with a hyphen.
1 word.
There's 1 word.
Space time.
Very good.
Songwriting.
Yep.
And all with like lots of hyphens.
Yeah, like hyphens. And
I'm so sorry. I think I got a little bit too pissed, and I think I talked a little bit too much about philosophy. With lots of hyphens.
It's all about the hyphens.
It's all about the hyphens, man.
Yeah?
You should see my press release. It's like it's constant,
Hyphens everywhere, Bob.
everywhere.
Well, I hope you people at home enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Of course, go and check out Bay's stuff online. His new album, which I've heard bits of, sounds great, by the way.
Thank you.
Sounds really, really great. So you guys, I think, will love it when it comes out. Bay's light session is going to be coming out on Friday, so subscribe to our YouTube channel, of course, to see that coming out. We run all this on a donation basis, so if you want to help us out, there's a link in the description somewhere. I don't know. This is actually our last episode for, well, till August. I think, till August. Wow. So we're going to be putting out some little bits of stuff throughout the next month, but we're going to be back with a vengeance in August with some new artists. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'd like to say thank you to all of our artists for this season. Thank you to George, thank you to Adam, thank you to James, thank you to Matt, thank you to you, Bay, obviously, and all the people that have helped to contribute towards making a beautiful thing that we're doing. So yeah, we'll see you all in August. I hope you have a lovely July, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to catch up on new episodes every week. Also, check us out on our Facebook and Instagram at RecRooms, where you can find out about our other exciting music series. We also have this and all our other episodes of the podcast up on our RecRooms YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. See you next time.